ways about it, going to run the football. And how much of this is games like the Chiefs or the Texans game that Malik Willis started. You're going to run the football on first down. You're going to, even if it doesn't really make sense, because you don't necessarily want Malik Willis with the ball in his hands. So I do think that adds a little bit of understanding to it, a little bit of explanation behind it. But that was only a couple of games. This is the sample size of the season as a whole. So this kind of, all of this breakdown, all of these findings from Warren Sharp lead me to believe how much better is this Titans offense simply because Todd Downing is not calling the plays anymore.
Well, we won't know until the season starts. And, you know, I'm not going to sit here and say Todd Downing was the best play caller. He wasn't even close. Again, I think, you know, just about every offensive coordinator, I believe, in this league has the ability to put together a good game plan for that week's opponent. It's the ones that are able to not just call the plays during the game, but are able to adjust to what's happening in the game. That's what separates the good ones from the great ones, or the okay ones from the really good to great ones. Guys that are able to, you know, in the middle of the game, you know, change the course of action, adapt to what's going on. Guys that are not just so bullheaded to say it's either my way or no way. This is the way we're going to do it. You find ways to incorporate your playmakers. When they take out one of your playmakers, you find a way to incorporate another one, or a guy that may not have been making plays for you, but all of a sudden you put him in a situation, or you start to call some plays because of the way the defense is playing. And now this guy that was a no-show, he ends up, you know, impacting the game in a positive way because you have found a way to sort of shift your offense or sort of combat what the defense is doing. Those are the really good play callers, and we know who those guys are: Andy Reid, Kyle Shanahan, guys like that, Doug Peterson, guys that are able to adapt as the game is going. Now, we can blame it on Todd Downing, and you know what? Because he's not here, won't nobody say anything. But
nobody will defend it.
Yeah, nobody will defend it. Just like nobody will defend. We can blame John Robinson for what happened. He's not here to defend himself. So, right. You know, everybody's going to pile on him. But let's just think about it. Who hired the guy? Vrabel.
Yeah.
And after the first season, when it wasn't going as well, who retained the guy?
Vrabel.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you, as much as we talk about how, and this is, I'm only talking as if I'm hearing other people talking about Vrabel, and I've always said this. If y'all consider him such a great coach, y'all shouldn't be worried about anything else. Y'all should be, hey, Vrabel's going to get those guys going. They're going to play for him. And I get that. But if you think that Vrabel isn't to blame in this as well, you're out your damn rabbit mind. Because Vrabel, he has his hands in everything that goes on.
Right. He has a vision of what he wants the offense to be.
He has a vision of what he wants this offense to be. And he said it before, prior to him saying we got to get faster. He said, we're a run team. So Vrabel could have easily walked into that room and said, hey, listen, we need to change courses. We need to start doing something else because this ain't working.
Vrabel is culpable to a certain extent.
Okay,
exactly.
And let's use the example that Warren Sharp is putting out there. Too many first down runs that put them in bad situations.
Well, let's
right?
continue that on the. Let's get that on the other side.
Because I've got some other things to supplement that with.
Perfect.
To get into a discussion about the effectiveness of Derrick Henry in all of this too.
Let's get to that on the other side. The effectiveness of Derrick Henry. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
The NHL Draft is coming to Nashville, and we have you covered. Join Robbie Stanley.
So the Preds have 13 picks.
Willy Donick.
A team would offer more.
Max Hers.
Great goalies he has played with.
I believe there's going to be a lot of maneuvering.
And Chase McCabe for Draft Night in Smashville. Live from Bridgestone Arena, Wednesday, June 28th. Draft Night in Smashville is presented by the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 429, on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, Ray Jeter here with Harness. Are you an experienced superintendent, project manager, foreman, or estimator? Do you possess a unique perspective that sees problems as valuable opportunities? We are an excavations and site utilities contractor. We are actively seeking skilled superintendents, project managers, foremen, and estimators who embrace challenges with a positive mindset. If you embody this mindset, apply today at selectharness.com. Harness LLC, build people, move dirt.
312 Pizza Company is your spot for the best Chicago-style eats right here in Nashville. From thin crust pizza to deep dish pizza to Italian beef sandwiches and Chicago dogs. Doesn't get much better than that. Until now. 312 Pizza Company is now serving up their award-winning pizza by the slice. All day, every day. Don't have time to wait for a full pie? No problem. Get a slice instead. Order a full pie but want a little more? Add another slice. Do it. Honestly, just go get a slice. 312 Pizza Company. Nashville's authentic Chicago pizzeria. Go get a slice.
With the first pick in the NBA draft.
The stars of tomorrow in the association will take center stage tonight with the NBA draft.
I wanted to be in the NBA, but this is unbelievable.
Our coverage begins at 6 o'clock.
On 102.5 and 106.3, The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, Nashville, this is Paul Feinbaum, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5, The Game.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Hey, do not miss the Broadway Block Party this Monday through Wednesday as Music City welcomes a week full of events featuring the NHL Awards, the 25th Anniversary Concert, and NHL Draft. Fans can enjoy this free party featuring live music, red carpet walks, games, alumni autographs, giveaways, food trucks, activations, and so much more. So don't miss this incredible week of events starting Monday as the Preds celebrate 25 years. More information on NashvillePredators.com. Breaking down Warren Sharp's analytical breakdown of the Titans' play calling this past season. Says that the Titans, despite having one of the lowest efficiency rates of running on first down, they ran at one of the highest rates on first down in the National Football League. Willie, you said you have some numbers, some breakdown that can provide a little bit of context here.
It's something that if you listen to our show, you know I harp on this, is you can't just look at yards, right? We just had the whole discussion about DeAndre Hopkins and what went into the 717 yards. We hear this a lot with Derrick Henry. He had 1,530 yards. And yes, that's nothing to sneeze at, right? 1,500 yards is 1,500 yards. But with the analytics, and this is where Warren Sharp is going, is what did you get for those 1,500 yards? If it's too many unsuccessful runs, for example, that he's given you on first down, then maybe you shouldn't be running as much. Maybe you'd be better with Derrick Henry having 1,200 yards, but on better situations where it's more favorable and he's going to have better runs, right? So that's where efficiency is important, right? What are the 1,500 yards getting you? And what are you paying your running back for those 1,500 yards? That is where I think Tim Kelly and Rand Carthon, with his new sets of eyeballs, with a little more emphasis on analytics, if Tim Kelly is open to that, what's the best way to use Derrick Henry? It's a huge question, I think, for this offense. And I'm not saying necessarily give him the ball 100 times left, but when do you throw it? Like you said, should you throw it more on first down? And should Derrick Henry be on the field for more third downs and catch a few more passes?
Yes.
Maybe, but what if you have a really good guy in Spears? Maybe he's the guy that you should be using a little bit more. But I think all of the answers to these questions, that's what goes into efficiency. That's why when you sit there and go, well, I don't really care what they say, 1,500 yards is really good. But efficiency-wise, you heard Warren Sharp, and then cross-checking that with Football Outsiders, Derrick Henry, despite the 1,500 yards, did not rate very high in efficiency. He was anywhere from 16 to 29 in the different metrics, even though he had way more yards than most of the guys in front of him.
And
does that make sense? Like
it does.
The successful, like if you need 1 yard, on 3rd and 1, and you get 1 yard, you only get 1 yard, but it's a successful run.
Yes.
Right. If you are if it's 1st and 10, and you get 3 yards, that's not really a successful run. That's not the worst thing in the world. But if you get 2 or 1, these are the things that put you behind the sticks, and now your offense is in trouble.
And what other things do you have to keep into consideration when looking at the efficiency? Derrick Henry was running behind a horrendous offensive line.
Biggest thing.
That's another part.
Todd Downing's play call, he called a whole lot of runs on first down. So how much are you really just setting up Derrick Henry to fail when you call yet another run on first down and there's 4 guys in the box just waiting to take Derrick Henry down half a yard downfield?
Yeah, and you also know that this is where I've always given Todd Downing a little bit of slack. He was not dealt a great hand. He knew that he had a better run blocking offensive line than pass blocking. Right? They were a bad pass protection team. They were not good at all. And you're not exactly throwing to Jerry Rice and John Taylor.
No.
Right?
No, not at all.
Derek Mason and Drew Bennett. Like pick your good combination. They didn't really have that last year. So that's probably going to let's just run the heck out of it and play good defense and keep the game close. There were some games where they tried to win the old-fashioned college football, call it Ohio State, 3 yards in a cloud of dust, right? Let's win 14-10. And it worked a couple of times.
Well, you got to I think in those numbers, and I'm not saying those numbers are not correct. I believe they are. But, again, you got to watch this team, and you got to know that, from a strength and weakness, the weakest part of this team, everybody can agree, was the offensive line. So to say that he sabotaged this offense, I would say this offense was sabotaged by the moves that were made. And he was just the one left holding the cup. Like, okay, what am I supposed to do with this? You traded away my best wide receiver. You didn't sign, you didn't address the offensive line the way you should have. And now I'm supposed to take this and do what with it? Okay, if you want me to be a running team, then I'm going to do what I can to the best of my ability as a play caller. You understand that. That's why you're not asking me to change anything, because you understand that the minute we get in pass pro, that's not good for Ryan Tannehill. It's just not. Now, could they have possibly thrown the ball a little bit more? Yeah, you could say that. But to say that Todd Downing sort of mastermind this whole thing to sabotage the offense, again.
I think that was kind of a joke from me.
I know. Yeah. But again, he's not the head honcho. He's just a guy that has to call the plays. And listen, just about everybody covets that offensive coordinator position, because if you do well, it leads to what? A head coaching position. But that's why some coaches choose not to take jobs as an offensive coordinator if they aspire to be a head coach. Because some offenses they're looking at and they're like, nah, I'm not touching that offense because if it doesn't go right, I will get blamed for it, even though I'm not the person that put this together. But I will get blamed for it. Todd Downing wasn't the best offensive coordinator out there. I will admit that. But he didn't put this roster together from an offensive standpoint. He didn't say, hey, John and Mike and Amy, go ahead and trade away A.J. Brown.
Well, I think both things can be true. That Todd Downing was dealt probably not the best hand, but also Todd Downing's play calling didn't really do much to help himself.
His play calling didn't help him. He didn't help himself with the play calling. But to say that, well, they should have ran, or thrown the ball 100 times more, one, they really didn't have no consistent pass catchers. They didn't have no consistency in the passing lineup. Guys were in and out of the lineup, and then guys you brought in here to do the job didn't do it. So
they didn't pass protect very well.
Exactly. You're not pass protecting very well.
They had no left tackle.
And your quarterback was hurt.
Your quarterback is hurt.
Couldn't move.
Your receiver, your number one receiver is in and out because of injury, and he's a rookie. Your number two receiver is still getting over an ACL. Your number three receiver is a number 3 or a 4. I mean, you were set up not to succeed the way you wanted to from a passing standpoint.
And that's why I think some of the weeks, especially when Malik Willis was quarterbacking or you had a Ryan Tannehill playing on one leg, the game plan, this is where I would challenge Sharp, is to say, okay, I think Mike Vrabel was basically saying the only way we win these games is just run the heck out of it. We don't care if we don't score very much. Let's keep the clock running. Let's try to get some turnovers, and let's win with the best thing we got. That's our defense. And it almost worked at Arrowhead, right? It
almost worked.
Yeah. And that was against Patrick Mahomes. It almost worked. So I think that was the thing. Hey, look, this is what we have. We got to try to make it work with what we have. And that didn't make it easy for the offensive numbers or the offensive coordinator.
Right. And I totally think that's part of it. I don't think that just the play calling alone was the reason why the Titans struggled offensively. Injuries are part of it. Offensive line, some of the moves by John Robinson are part of the reason why. And that's why
everyone was culpable in it.
That's why John Robinson paid for it with his job. But I do think that it is part of it because I don't think that it was, the lack of offensive line and Ryan Tannehill being injured that was the reason why Derrick Henry wasn't on the field on 3rd and 4. I don't think that it's because of injuries that, Derrick Henry taking snaps out of Wildcat didn't work, or the jet sweep to Chigakonkwo against the New York Giants, or Malik Willis fumbling the football when they ran a jet sweep from Ryan Tannehill to Malik Willis. Little things like that injuries are part of it. Offensive line is part of it. Treylon Burks being injured and in and out of the lineup totally is part of it. Ryan Tannehill being injured is part of it. The play calling also wasn't great. So I do think that Tim Kelly being in place of Todd Downing, it does help this offense. How much? I don't know. You still got injuries that are going to be part of it. I still don't know how much better the offensive line is going to be. Can Treylon Burks stay healthy? I don't know. Those are all things that we're going to find out. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Let's get in some of your thoughts on this because we've got loaded phone lines and we are right to those coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 1025, 1063 The Game.
He knows the ins and outs of the Titans and isn't afraid to give his opinion.
Treylon Burks needs a massive offseason.
He's Jonathan Hutton of Outkick.
I don't see how they make a move without going to Ryan Tannehill.
Catch him every Monday at 10:30 on Chase and Michelle and every Wednesday at noon on Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase. Hutton is on 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
What's going on, Nashville? Men, listen up. I need to tell you something about Cool Springs MD. Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances. And Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and his wife Daphne, along with that wonderful and experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life. Cool Springs MD services have already helped many men of Brentwood, Nashville, and the surrounding areas in Tennessee with improving their immune systems, energy levels, cognitive functions, and more. They are there to connect you with the medical care you require to have a healthy and enriched life. So, there's no better time now to achieve a healthy lifestyle, man. What are you waiting for? Give Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment. Actually, I got one today, later on this evening. And here's the number, 615-486-3458. That's 615-486-3458, or visit our website at coolspringsmd.com.
Sometimes you want a sure return on your investment. That's where CDs come into play. At F&M Bank, they've been providing smart choices to customers for over a century, including CDs that are a great way to save. You make a deposit and collect the earnings on your terms. Great rates, predictable results, and backed by the Federal Deposit Insurance Company. That's smart banking. Life is complicated. Banking shouldn't be. So go see them at one of their 20 locations across Middle Tennessee and Southern Kentucky, or online at myfmbank.com. F&M Bank. Banking made easy on purpose. Member FDIC.
Hey, it's Jared for PhD Weight Loss. I used to work out like crazy but only see minimal results. But ever since I started the PhD Weight Loss program last month, I've seen the weight start to fly off. I've been on it for 6 weeks now, and I'm already down 17 pounds. And those are 17 real pounds. PhD Weight Loss is great because they send me 85% of the food, and even when I'm traveling, like I have been the last 2 weeks, I easily take all my food with me. It's really simple. Soups, cereals, oatmeals, protein powder. It's great. I have a great coach in Rachel who's helped guide me, build a nutrition program for me, and motivate me, all while holding me accountable. And I love that there are no pills, injections, or any kind of gimmicks. It's real food, and it's a real lifestyle. and that equals real weight loss. They've got a guarantee. If you don't get within 5 pounds of your target weight by the end of the program, PhD will continue to coach you for free until you do. Visit myphdweightloss.com to get started today. That's PhD Weight Loss, myphdweightloss.com.
Hey, it's John Tesh. You want to know how to get better rates, better coverage, and better service on your home and auto insurance? Work with Xander Insurance. I know it's a big promise, but this team delivers. They've been around for almost 100 years and have earned the privilege of representing dozens of insurance companies so they can shop, compare, and find you the best options available. More options mean more savings, and in many cases, better coverage. But it doesn't stop there. Each year, they review your coverage to make sure your rates stay competitive. Nobody else does that. And when it comes to service, just check out their ratings. Xander is one of the top agencies in the industry, and they earned that spot with their commitment to making sure their clients are taken care of like family. That's what sets them apart. Go to Xander.com for quick online quotes or call 800-356-1780 for that personal touch that you've been missing.
More than 80 million Americans depend on AM radio for their news, traffic, weather, sports, and a community connection. It's the backbone of the emergency alert system, keeping us safe in dangerous times. It's critical that we keep AM radio in cars, because when cell and internet services are down, this free emergency service could be your only lifeline. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress we need AM radio in cars. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Bon appetit. Take some Titans.
Play fake, Tannehill.
Some Preds.
Stop by steroids.
Even some hoops.
Water shot is good.
Put it in a blender. And what do you have? Jason Michelle.
Yeah, of course.
See it if you're watching on the stream.
The fastest 2 hours in sports radio. Weekday mornings at 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app. Having some fun in the midday.
Yeah, that's awesome.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Again, just continue to hone in on his craft and understanding the assignments and the details of what he's supposed to be doing and how he can run routes and maybe different tempos of routes. What he's looking at, he's continue to build on his knowledge of coverages and what the defense is trying to do. So again, as he continues to do that, he'll continue to get better in the pass game.
I remember with the running backs, you used to do cut-ups for Derek and those guys. Have you started doing that at all for these tight ends?
Yes. I've gone through and we'll go through and find different people, different schemes around the league, and schemes that have been successful, players that are successful, even going back to Delaney Walker here in his early years, in 16 and 17, and pulling some of those cuts. He did a really good job as a route runner. There's some things that he did that I've been able to show these guys, and to be able to learn from some of those guys that have been here, and then obviously around the league with different tight ends and the different things that they do. So we'll always do that, one for myself to learn, but also to be able to show the guys different examples of different ways to do things.
That was Tony Dew's Titans tight ends coach, which does feel kind of weird to say. So used to calling him the running backs coach.
Exactly.
Tight ends coach. And we will get into the tight ends. We'll get into their usage in Chicago. But first, want to get into your text. 615-737-1025 is our phone number if you have a thought. Our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We are discussing Warren Sharp's most recent tweet thread about Todd Downing's play calling and just how much the Tennessee Titans ran the football. Let's get your thoughts. Ben from Nashville texts in, says, I think the analytics behind Henry's usage on 3rd and medium or 3rd and short would be interesting. He needs to be used as a threat to run, even if they opt to pass. I felt like Todd just never consistently put his best players on the field, even as distractions. I would agree. If it's 3rd and 8, you're probably not running the football. Mm-hmm. But if Derrick Henry is on the field, then you force the defense to have to pay attention to him. So even just, the players who were on the field, I think, was a problem for Todd Downing last year. The personnel seemed very obvious to me.
3rd and 8 would not be the example. It's more like that 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, where I think you're thinking
run.
the run is a real option. I mean, 3rd and 8, not many teams are going to run. Yeah. But there's that right in between where I think it was a dilemma, and this is a new question for Tim Kelly, of when do I take Derrick Henry off the field and when do I keep him in? When it's 3rd and whatever the situation, right? And then how good are the other guys? That's the other. Like, for a while, I thought Hilliard was really playing well. He was playing great as that 3rd down guy. He was making big plays.
And Deontay Foreman 2 years ago.
Well, 2 years ago.
I know,
but I'm talking about as a purely 3rd down. What they were doing before Hilliard got hurt for a while was working pretty well.
Yeah.
Where he was not only converting first downs, he made some of the most explosive plays they had, right? He had some big plays, touchdowns from way out, the explosive plays that the offense needed badly. So it's a double-edged sword, and this is a new question for Tim Kelly.
Well, he led the team in touchdown receptions, Dontrell Hilliard, with 4.
And he didn't play the whole season.
And he didn't play the whole season.
Oh, my gosh.
And I understand what the texter is saying. Well, the personnel. And were we not talking about this during the season, the beginning of the season, the middle of the season?
Totally.
Like, where's Chigakonkwo? Where's Dontrell Hilliard? More importantly, those two guys. I specifically mentioned it just screaming. Like, use Dontrell Hilliard more. My thing is this. When you have these guys, and again, I guess this is the new way of doing NFL, is different personnels, all these different personnels, different packages. I get it. We used to do it back in the day. But the difference here was, I don't care what damn package we run, what personnel we run, and I'm just talking about specifically for the Tennessee Titans back in the day. There were 2 or 3 people that were going to be on the field. 2 out of the 3 people that were going to be on the field at all times, regardless of what package we were running. That was myself, Drew Bennett, and at the time, Eddie George.
Your best players should be on the field.
Your best players, absolutely, should be on the field. And when they're not, or one of them's not, you start to wonder, like, what's really going on? Like, why is it, I don't care if you're going to run the ball. Chigakonkwo, Treylon Burks, if he's healthy, needs to be out there. Because Derrick Henry's out there, right? If it's, 3rd or 2nd and 5, I know Derrick Henry's going to be out there.
Yeah.
But I need other playmakers out there. I don't need to sub in Treylon Burks for Hollister.
Right, like if it's Cody Hollister, Jeff Swaim, and Derrick Henry on the field, I have a pretty good idea of what you're going to do.
I know what you're doing more than likely. I know what you're doing. But if Derrick Henry, Chigakonkwo, and Treylon Burks is out there, it's a different story.
Makes it a little bit more.
It makes it a little bit hard. Or if Dontrell Hilliard, Derrick Henry, and Treylon Burks or Chigakonkwo is out there, then it's something different. We can run or we can pass. We got to be set up for both of them.
You're saying you would have liked to have seen Henry and Hilliard on the field?
I would have liked to see, and I think that's why they drafted Spears, because Spears give them the opportunity on 2nd and 5 to throw him in to be able to run between the tackles still, or throw a screen, or send him out the backfield on a pass play. So you don't know what we're going to do. He's strong enough to run between the tackles because he's proven it in college. He can get outside the backfield and catch passes because he's proven it in college. He can catch screenplays because he's proven it in college. That's why we chose to draft him in the 3rd round rather than the receiver, because we believe he can be a dynamic player for us. So they got to figure out how to use that guy like they didn't use Dontrell Hilliard. They started to use Dontrell Hilliard toward the end of the season, but after everybody got hurt.
Right,
like,
but Hilliard was hurt, too.
Yeah, Hilliard was hurt, too. But my thing is, again, you got to be able to identify your playmakers. And in identifying your playmakers, making sure that they're on the field at just about all times. I've always said, Treylon Burks, if I'm the receiver coach, you ain't coming out the game until you're ready to come out the game. And if you're ready, but it's a crucial play, no, you better suck it up, buddy. This is what you get paid for. You better take a deep breath and get back out there because we need you. Other than that, you could take 2 or 3 plays off. I get it. But when we need you on the field, you're on the field.
Right.
You ain't coming off in 2-minute situations, are you? No. Because why? Because we need you on the field. Well, you're not going to come off just in in a non-2-minute situation.
And just because you're not running doesn't mean that he needs to be off the field.
Exactly. Just because the player's not coming to you or we're running a football doesn't mean you need to come off the field.
Right.
So Hilliard missed the last 4 games.
Okay.
With
he ended
injury.
up playing, 12 games, I think? Yeah.
And
games.
I think he got hurt in the Jacksonville game. I feel like it was on a special teams play, if I remember correctly. I might be a little hazy.
The second
with
Jacksonville
that.
game where Derek went off in the first half and then they just didn't give him the ball in the second half.
Well, it was the first Jacksonville game.
First
They got away from them in the second
first
half.
Jacksonville game. And the second Jacksonville game was the Josh Dobbs game.
And I think that was the game that Hilliard got hurt. So it was really 5 games. My question is this. This is another one for Tim Kelly. There's no doubt that Derrick Henry had his efficiency numbers as a pass catcher way better than they've ever been before, and way better than his rushing efficiency. There were a lot of really good screens. I'm curious, what was the down and distance on when he got all these catches? Were they on third down, or were a lot of them on first and second down? I feel like a lot of them were on early downs, if I remember correctly, but that's just me thinking off the top of my head. I'd like to see a little more deep dive on that, like a Warren Sharp, because that's something that you want to consider. If it is third down, and you're saying, well, Derrick Henry had a pretty good year catching the ball, can we use that? Because we've always known he's not a natural route runner, pass catcher. It's not what he does best.
He always looks uncomfortable catching footballs.
But the numbers don't lie. From last year, he had almost 400 receiving yards last year. He busted some long screen runs.
He was a much better pass catcher last year.
For sure.
But it's mostly screens.
Yeah,
right?
mostly screens.
Get him out in space, get a couple blockers in front, let him accelerate, and then good things can happen.
He's not running routes. He's not running a 5-yard out and then them throwing him the ball. He's not, or running a angle route and them throwing the ball.
So that's what a Todd Downing it would say is if he's trying to defend himself. Like, Derrick Henry isn't that guy. If we're going to throw it, he can't. He's not that kind of guy that's going to make it. We're better with the guy that is like a Hilliard,
right?
Who is more of a threat catching the ball, better at catching the ball.
Maybe.
Hopefully,
Spears will be their Dontrell Hilliard of this season, but better, I believe, if they use him the way they should.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll get back into your thoughts, your calls, your texts on this. But coming up next, the NFL hosted a conference, a media press conference discussion, so to speak, about one of the biggest issues that has arisen over this offseason. What do we think about it? And do we think that the NFL is getting closer to finding a solution for this issue? We'll get into that coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, Elliot Friedman in 1 hour. 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
94.9 The Fan is your home for Hit City.
Your Nashville Sounds continue their 6-game series at First Horizon Park tonight against Norfolk.
Swing and a miss, strike 3. Sounds win.
Pre-game at 6:20.
On your home of Nashville Sounds baseball. 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Join the Nashville Area Chamber of Commerce for the 16th Annual Nashville Emerging Leader Awards, Wednesday, July 12th, to recognize local young professionals who are excelling in their careers and making a difference in the community. Time is running out to save your seat. Register today at NashvilleChamber.com/events.
At Fisher Investments, we do things differently, and other money managers don't understand why.
Because our way works great for us.
But it may not work for your clients. That's why Fisher Investments is a fiduciary, obligated to put clients first. It's the highest standard for a financial advisor.
So, what do you provide? Cookie-cutter portfolios like the rest of us?
No cookie-cutter portfolios here. Fisher Investments tailors portfolios to meet each client's goals and needs.
But you do sell investments that earn you high commissions, right? And make commissions when you make trades for your clients?
No, Fisher Investments doesn't sell any commission investment products, and we never earn commissions on trades.
So what's in it for you?
Fisher Investments fees are structured so we do better when our clients do better. When it comes to helping clients achieve a comfortable retirement, we're clearly different. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments, clearly different money management.
Investments in securities involve the risk of loss.
Now, your Game Center update.
This is Nick Keyser. Free agent wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins has still yet to sign with an NFL organization. Yahoo Sports' Charles Robinson joined Robbie and Rexroad this morning and shared his thoughts on the process that the wide receiver's going through.
I mean, I don't think he's delaying it. I think the teams are delaying it. I think that what we talked about the last couple of weeks, has come to fruition, which is the money's a problem. Given where he is at this point.
And the LSU Tigers have been hanging in the College World Series over in Omaha after a 5-2 win last night over Wake Forest. They'll be back in action tonight at 6 p.m. on ESPN2. And according to Adrian Wojnarowski, a deal took place late last night in the NBA. The Celtics, Wizards, and Grizzlies agreed to a 3-team trade that sends Kristaps Porzingis to the Celtics, Marcus Smart to Memphis, and Tyus Jones to the Wizards. You're listening to 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 1025 and 1063.
79-52 Vanderbilt.
And I think he's got a coach
shot by Cheryl.
You're going to see more moves. The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Covering your teams and the news of the day.
Ladies and gentlemen.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
Who is pleasant to listen to.
With Caroline Fenton, Willie Donick, and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason.
You are hands down my favorite radio personalities of all time.
On 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
With no further ado,
Caroline, Willie, D-Mase, 1025, 1063 The Game, and the Game Nashville app. We're live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Game Studios, and we're streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every single day. Our video streaming is brought to you by Superbook. Download their app today and use promo code THEGAME. Elliot Friedman will join us in 1 hour. We are less than a week away, people, from the NHL draft at Bridgestone Arena, so we'll get all of Elliot's thoughts on the draft and what is to come in the next few days leading up to the NHL draft. So looking forward to that with Elliot Friedman in 1 hour. But I wanted to get to this because I think this was something that kind of slid under the radar. It wasn't really reported on a lot until I saw this article on Pro Football Talk. So the NFL on Tuesday afternoon hosted a media conference call, and several outlets from around the country that covers the NFL, ESPN, CBS Sports, Fox Sports, so on and so forth, were invited to participate in this conference call on gambling. I mean, as we have known, since Calvin Ridley got popped for gambling on the NFL, he was suspended for a year. We've seen so many other players come out and it would be revealed that they were also in violation of the league's gambling policy, whether it was gambling on an NFL game or, in Jameson Williams' case, Detroit wide receiver, gambling on an NFL property, whether that's the practice facility, whether that's a stadium, whether that's so on and so forth. So obviously that called for some sort of call to action, some sort of discussion about, okay, how are we going to move forward with this? Clearly, there is a gap in communication between the league and the players about what the gambling policy really is. So on that conference call on Tuesday, the NFL revealed their 6 key rules for the players, at least clarified the 6 key rules for players. 1, don't bet on the NFL. Clear. 2, don't gamble at your team facility while traveling for a road game or staying at a team hotel. 3, don't have someone bet for you. 4, don't share team inside information. Don't enter a sports book during the NFL playing season. And don't play daily fantasy football. Those are the top rules. Number 1, overall, just to clarify, do not bet on the NFL, even if it's just $1, if it's $1,000, if it's $1 million. Do not bet on the NFL. This has been obviously a big thing in the NFL over the last year, really, specifically the past couple of months. Why do you think the NFL held this meeting, especially with media? And do we think that these clarifications of the key rules are going to fix this trend that we've seen in the NFL in gambling?
I'll give you 2 things that I think tie together. Charlie Baker had that conversation at the College World Series, the brand new Mark Emmert, the head of the NCAA. And he said their studies, as they try to navigate what's coming here, about gambling in general. They polled college students, not necessarily just student athletes, because obviously student athletes aren't supposed to be betting, but college students now. And look, when I was in college, nobody had cell phones, but there were some people that did some betting, whether they just did it on their own freshman hall or dorm room hall. The fraternity had a guy that was doing stuff, or there was a real bookie that people did. There was different levels of it, but it was going on some. But what they found is now with the phones and the amount of time kids are spending on their phone, that a lot of college-age kids are gambling, right? It's so easy. It's legal. It's right there. So that's who's graduating into the league every year. Kids that have grown up with this on their phone, and they're on their phone all the time. So you're coming in with habits a lot of times. And so these NFL players are going to have to change their habits. And you had this other article recently saying that a lot of the players, and Derek, you and I were talking about this, it was one of the Fridays that Caroline was at a wedding. Can't remember which one. There's a lot of them.
There's a lot of them.
But there were a lot of the players that were sort of unnamed in this article saying, I didn't know. I didn't know you couldn't do that. That easily could have been me and not the guys for the Lions that got nailed. Right? They were like, oh, man, they got nailed for that. We did that. So this is coming as a shock to a lot of players. So I think that's why the urgency here. But when you're taking all these millions of dollars and it's legal and there's habits, I don't see how all these guys are going to break the habit. What are you supposed to do?
No, they're going to have to.
Help.
Yeah, they're going to have to break it. Yeah. They're going to have to break the habit because, again, the NFL is reacting to things that have happened over the course of the last 2 seasons, where last year was 1 or 2 guys, maybe a few more, but then this year, come to find out, there's even more guys that have bet on whatever, but on NFL grounds. We've seen all the guys that are suspended for this season, not for the whole season, but portions of the season, not necessarily because they bet on NFL games. One guy did, and he admitted to it, but because they bet on NFL grounds, like the property of the NFL. It could have been a prop bet for basketball, but they did it while they were on NFL grounds. In the NFL, as they have been, you think they would have learned, but I don't think they thought that prior to last season, they thought that it would become what it is. Like, guys would, be caught betting, not necessarily on NFL games, but betting on NFL grounds. I don't think they ever thought that would be a possibility in the sense of so many guys doing it and getting caught and then getting suspended. But now they're reacting to it. Now they want to make sure that, they just want to reiterate. I don't think there's any new rules in here per se. I think they want to highlight the rules that are already in place, bullet point them, and make sure these guys truly understand. Because I can go, there's roughly about, 1,500 to 1,700 players in the NFL. Prior to all of this, I could probably go to all 1,500 to 1,700 of them, and I guarantee you there will be more than half that couldn't tell you truly tell you what the gambling rules were.
Because they weren't paying
attention. Exactly. Yeah. And it wasn't really, pressed on them. We're going to discuss this. These are bullet points. Highlight this. Right. No, it was just a part of, okay, we're just going to discuss everything, and that is a part of everything, But now the NFL is making it a priority, in red caps, being mean, no betting, no betting.
This graphic put out by the NFL, it is literally red capital letters that are underlined in bold.
No betting anymore. But then you run into, okay, you're asking your players not to bet, which I get it, I think it's a little silly to say, well, you can't bet on other sports. Okay, whatever.
But also, if it's going to be this big of an issue and if it's going to catch so many players, then just say no betting at all. Yeah. Because if you're an employee of the league or an employee of an individual team in the NFL, you can't bet on anything. You can't even step into a casino. So why are the rules different for players. I feel like that just creates too much gray area. Clearly, if we're going to see as many players get caught for this as we have, it creates too much gray area. Just say no betting at all.
Because they're in bed with these betting companies. And these players are making a lot of money, and they know players like going to Vegas and all this other stuff.
It's good for business.
Exactly. It's good for business.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell them they can't bet at all.
Well, they tell other employees they can't bet at all.
That's different. They're not making the money that these.
A players association.
They're not, the buddies are not, going out and 10 of them going to Vegas and plopping down. You've heard the stories. We've all heard the stories, 50,000 here, 100,000 here, guys losing millions of dollars.
Yeah, there was a report of a guy that lost $8 million.
Yeah, so it's like they're not going to stop that. They don't want to stop it.
Why?
They're in bed with them.
Well, but this is where the people that were worried about this are going to come back. Mm-hmm. Because if you're too blasé about it, mm-hmm. and it's good for business, and like, hey, we're taking the money, we gotta let them do what's legal. What you worry about is a couple of those things on that list that mm-hmm. I don't think are being emphasized as much, and that is insider information.
Yeah, what does that classify as?
And don't bet through another person. There's no way you can enforce that, but that's where you could really get into some sticky situations of a game that doesn't go well, shady stuff happening, and you're like, wait a minute, some people got some insider information, or a player that was compromised that has lost $8 million and is in over his head. He's got a gambling problem, and now it's like, how do I get that money back? Well, I know some people. I mean, just the old-fashioned things you used to always hear.
Well, I guess
you're sharing information, you get out of a hole. I mean, these are all things that I think are just human nature. That's what happens when there's a lot of betting going on.
I think when they mean insider information, this is what I hope they mean, like playbook stuff. Like you can't.
Well, injuries would be the number one
Well,
thing,
you can't
right?
even say that because we know what the injuries are.
Well,
for the most part,
to.
like we know, like when the guys get to talking, they will. Are you playing? Or how's the ankle? Oh, it's 70%, 60%. I'm almost ready. Coach, how's such and such doing? Well, he's not practicing today. We hope to get him back tomorrow. He's looking good, yada, yada. He's a game time decision, yada, yada, whatever. Or he's just completely out. So.
But I remember 2 years ago, I believe it was a Colts-Raiders game. Mm-hmm. And out of nowhere, on like a Wednesday, Thursday afternoon, out of nowhere, the Colts became overwhelming underdogs. Mm-hmm. When at this point, the Raiders and the Colts were kind of evenly matched. And everyone was wondering why that was. And then it came out like 2-ish hours later that Carson Wentz was injured and wasn't playing. Mm-hmm. So nobody heard about this. Not the NFL insiders, it wasn't public information that Carson Wentz was injured.
But how did the gambling people find out about it?
Inside information, probably.
From who?
I don't know. I mean,
That's
I guess somebody within the Colts organization. I don't know. That's the question. That's why we always say, what does Vegas know that we don't? And that's what they want to avoid. I think that's the number one thing that NCAA, NFL, MLB, all of these major leagues and organizations, that's their biggest fear with getting into bed with these sports books
and you're not going to be able to
the game.
do it. You're not going to be able. You can't have all these superstars like the Manning family say, "Come on, place your bets here with my company." And then like, oh, but don't gamble, guys. You can't do it. I mean, we're going to get in trouble. No insider information. How can you reconcile that? That's not easy.
Well, they've been doing it forever, Willie. So this is nothing different. They reconcile promoting alcohol and beer on television, but then telling, hey, you can't do this, you can't do that, but you're endorsing it. So they've been doing it. Companies do it. They promote one thing, and then once you do that one thing, they say, well, don't do it, or this is what will happen to you.
The moral part is one. I'm worried about the competition on the field. What you don't want is to have games where like, what was going on there? Was something going on with insider information? Did somebody, you know what I mean? Like if there's a suspicion that the games aren't on the level, that's different than we're promoting a bad habit, drinking too much or gambling, whatever you feel like is wrong. If you can't do it in moderation, that's another thing. There's going to be people that get addicted to gambling, and football players are part of the society that they will have people that get addicted to gambling and lose a lot of money. And that's what you worry about. Somebody's in a situation like that where they feel like this is my only way out. I got to throw a game or something like that.
Well, I don't even think
that's the NFL's biggest fear. They want to maintain the integrity of the shield.
But they used to be able to do that without saying, well, we're not taking any money from these gamblers. But now they're taking the money, and that's their biggest fear, is that something like that will happen. So I don't know if one increases the chances of that happening.
Let's continue the conversation on the other side, because Derek, you point out a potential, hypocrisy in this, the NFL cracking down on gambling, but they're in bed with some of the sports books. I have a thought on that and some other kind of holes that I've poked in some of these rules from the NFL. We'll get into that coming up next. And of course, your thoughts as well. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Stuck at work without a radio?
Wait a minute. Disastrous.
I hate that.
It's got to be there.
That's okay. Download the Game Nashville app or go to thegamenashville.com and listen live. We are Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3, The Game.
The team at Mercedes-Benz of Music City have done it again. Here's Edwin Vickery to explain.
4-time recipient of Best of the Best. Less than 10% of the dealers in the country receive this award. How did you do it? We say culture eats strategy for lunch, because we can strategize all we want, but unless you have the right culture and chemistry in the dealership, it will not work.
Live the dream at Mercedes-Benz of Music City, mbofmc.com.
Are you drowning in credit card debt? Want to get cash out of your home's equity? Loan Pronto can do it now in less than a week. Hey, Willy Donick here. That's right. Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit just got even faster. You can get $50,000, $100,000, even $200,000 in as little as 5 days. You don't even have to touch your primary mortgage. You can keep that 3% rate intact. Get just the money you need and pay off all those credit cards, or get that home improvement project started. With this revolutionary program, you can access up to 90% of your home's value, and in most cases, there's no appraisal. Stop paying insane interest rates to the credit card companies and get tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash in as little as 5 days. Call Loan Pronto now for the even faster Equity Express line. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
When we talk about tenure at Cromwell Media, the owner of this station, we're not kidding around. This month, we're celebrating 6 teammates who have a combined 85 years of service to our company and our community. They are Rosemary Walters, 26 years, Cindy Marino, 21 years, Lakin King, 14 years, Ace Swartz, 13 years, and Chase McCabe, 11 years. If you'd like to experience what it's like to work for a great company, shoot us a note at together@cromwellmedia.com. That's together@cromwellmedia.com.
Want to see our smiling faces? You can watch us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live.
We are good to go.
Presented by Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
So it was interesting. After we all talked last week about sovereign wealth funds, right? And this idea of, like, let's say the Saudis coming in and buying a team or whatever. I talked to a bunch of executives, started working on a story that's going to run, actually, I think today. And I brought up the gambling aspect. And one of the things that this executive said that I thought was really interesting, he said, look, the reason why our embrace of gambling is different than the idea of Saudi money coming in or sovereign wealth funds coming in and owning a team is, they said, that only affects one team. He said the reason why gambling is so much of an overarching issue and why everyone has to come into some kind of agreement together on it is because it really does raise all boats. Yes, it raises the revenues for teams, no question about that. It makes owners richer, but it also significantly raises the ability of the salary cap to go higher and higher and higher. So it raises all boats for the NFLPA as well. And so everyone needs to be a direct partner in this embrace of gambling. And so sort of what he said was, we got off into the side tangent about gambling. He said there needs to be just an agreement for players when they enter the league. They have to understand we're all in this together. If you want to play professional football, you're not going to be allowed to gamble while you're a professional athlete for us, and that's how it's going to be. And the reason for that is the collective good. You might not be able to see it right in your paycheck, but I guarantee you're making more money in the NFL, and you're going to be closer to getting your pension and your pension's going to be enriched, and your benefits are going to be enriched.
That was Charles Robinson on with Robbie and Rexford a couple of weeks ago, right when we started to see some more of these cases come out of players in the NFL violating the league's gambling policy. Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase is brought to you by the new Zen Sportsbook. With cash rewards and the easiest, simplest betting experience possible, betting just got better. Download the Zen Sportsbook app today. So the NFL had this media conference call on Tuesday afternoon to address the gambling policies. And Ian Rappaport put out this graphic that the NFL put out of the 6 key rules for all NFL players as it pertains to gambling. Now, I kind of poked a few holes in some of these rules that kind of prove that, yeah, I mean, like, these rules do seem a little bit double-sided or maybe a little bit hypocritical. Derek, you pointed one out of how can the NFL tell the players to do a certain thing whenever they're making so much money from these sports books. I mean, like, you can't watch a single NFL game without seeing several sports book ads. I mean, there's a Caesar Superdome, for crying out loud. But
it's in your face.
It's in your face. But I don't know if I necessarily agree with it. Because just because the NFL has these partnerships with the sports books, I don't think automatically should give players free reign to do whatever they want. I mean, if I'm working in social media for the Tennessee Titans, I can't gamble. So why can Derrick Henry, and I'm just using those people as examples, Derrick Henry bet on a college football game at his house if he wants? I
mean, there's several sort of issues, I guess, in regards to this. I was reading an article in 2018. Now, this is what 5 years removed now, and they were talking. The headline was, Patriots Robert Kraft and Cowboys Jerry Jones retain DraftKings stakes amid shift to sportsbook. Now, what the article says is, well, they only own, a small percentage in DraftKings. They're invested. Let me read verbatim. And it's quickly. It said New England owner Robert Kraft and Dallas owner Jerry Jones have retained their investments in DraftKings. Sources confirmed to ESPN, even as the company has shifted some of its focus from daily fantasy to traditional sports betting. Kraft and Jones' stake in DraftKings are said to be small, less than 5%, according to the source. In court disclosure, the 21st Century Fox was the only company listed as owning 10% or more, the Cowboys spokesman. And then they went on to say, DraftKings is through, their investment is through sports hospitality company called Legends, not the team. But it's ironic that Jones has stake in Legends as well. He's the principal owner along with Steinbrenner in Legends. So this is how you sort of circumvent. You say, well, no, we don't have nothing to do with it. It's only a small part. But then over here, Legends, you have a huge stake in it, which is, a part of what you're doing. So you try to hide it by you try to be so far removed from it that they can't attach you to it. But they can, because you own a large part of Legends.
They're very much so
exactly.
Involved.
You're in bed. You're in bed heavy with them as much. Let's say you're in bed much more than what you're telling people.
Right.
Both of you. So my thing is this. If you want to tell the players not to not to bet, and you should. Players shouldn't bet.
I mean, that compromises the integrity of the game.
Absolutely. So I'm not saying that the NFL shouldn't make money off of these sites, but you shouldn't own stake in that site. Like, you shouldn't own stake in a DraftKings when DraftKings is being used by players. And you're telling them, well, you can't use DraftKings when you're on the grounds during the season. Basically, during the season, you cannot bet. That's what we're saying.
Yeah.
You cannot bet. So why then should I have even a small amount of stake in this company? Because we're getting money regardless. Because you have to pay us to sort of, be a part of what we're doing as far as the NFL. You, DraftKings, or anybody else got to pay us to be a part of what we're doing. So why then do I have to own 5% of what you're doing, as a individual? I'm getting money already. So now I'm getting money on top of money. Because now I have a stake in what you're doing, not only from a NFL standpoint, but from a personal standpoint. Listen, I'm all about making money, but if you're telling the players and the workers, y'all can't gamble, y'all can't bet, especially on NFL grounds, then why do I have stake in that said company that I'm telling y'all not to bet with?
I guess it's two different things. You know, it's I see where you're coming from 100%. The way that I view it is the owner, they're a business person.
Yeah, I'm all about
business.
I'm all about business, making the money, making as much money as you possibly can. If you're doing it legally, then do it. But you can't tell me no. But then you have stake in a company that you're telling me I can't get involved with, at least during the season.
I think because as an owner, and it would be the NFL telling individual players, not individual owners, but yes, that the owners are just that's business that they're buying into, and it's an investment.
It's an investment. I get that.
For the players, it's okay. Well, you are actually physically playing this game, and it is shady, and it compromises the integrity of the game if you have any sort of financial involvement into it.
Can a player be an investor in DraftKings or any other one of these draft sites that are out?
See, that's a great question.
That's a good question.
Because
see why not.
I still worry about the fundamental question is, can you do all this stuff and not put yourself in a more vulnerable position than before all this was legal, before this world has happened, right? Does it increase the chances of scandal and Black Sox kind of thing where you have, it's games that are compromised, and then you have the worry of, hey, it's professional wrestling, right? It's the fix is in. Like you don't. It's already. You guys already admit you love the conspiracy theories, right?
Yes.
That's all
I
fun.
love a conspiracy.
That's all fun. But can you imagine if there were one or two documented cases of people throwing games, and enough of it snowballed because people were in a bad financial position or whatever? Could you trace it back to this issue that we're talking about? That's why you have to try to protect that at all costs. But they're trying to dabble in this. Well, we got these billions of dollars coming in from all these companies. How can we resist? So I see the temptation, but are you making yourself vulnerable because of it?
I wonder what the league would say. For instance, we love Zen Sports, right?
We love Zen Sports.
We love Zen Sports. Go on Zen Sports app, please, people. Zen Sports book, okay, where sports just got better, here in Nashville.
Sure.
But, okay, if I'm a player and Zen Sports come to me, great people over Zen Sports, they come to me as a player and say, Derek, we have this opportunity for you to be an investor in our company. They lay out everything. I got my people, they're looking over everything, and it's like, okay, this sounds like a good deal here. And they say, well, Derek, we'll give you, 3% of the stake of the company, or 5%, whatever. Not much, but just enough. And I'm like, okay, cool. Do you think if I took that to the NFL and told them what they would say? Hell no.
Why?
They wouldn't want us to be in bed with them. They just wouldn't. Because then to them, that's compromising the integrity of the game, because I have stake in a Zen Sports, who I believe will be the best sport betting site in the world pretty soon here, if not already. I want to be in bed with them as a player. I'm talking about. This is just an investment for me.
Right.
I'm doing it.
People love
exactly.
sports.
I know people love sports. It's not like
I'm
trying to, circumvent or make bets on the side. No, I'm doing this purely as a investor in a company that I believe that is going to excel. So why can't I put money on that company? But the NFL is going to look at me like I'm crazy. Like, no, you can't do that.
I don't know what the rules are, but my impression of that is a player investing into a sports book, to me, is a lot less threatening to the integrity of the game than a player actually betting.
I'm not arguing with you with that.
I honestly, and maybe this is me being naive and not knowing enough about the business of sports books and investing into sports books. I don't see any problem with that, because it's just another business. Like, if you want to invest in
there's no difference in
shoe
investing
company,
right?
Yeah.
I was going to say that.
Yeah, like if I want to invest in Nike, that doesn't make me any better or worse of a player if I invest in Nike because I'm wearing Nike cleats. The same thing with Zen Sports. It's just a partnership that I have.
But the
doesn't
NFL,
mean that I'm going to drop a pass intentionally because I'm an investor of Zen Sports. No, that doesn't make any sense.
But the NFL would probably look at that as totally different than what we are looking at it at.
I don't know. I really don't know.
Ask how many guys are invested in alcohol right now. How many guys that are currently playing that are invested in a alcohol brand, like investors in an alcohol brand?
I don't know.
Probably not at all.
I don't know.
Check out the league rules on that.
Can you not invest in a liquor company?
I don't think you can be. Okay, I'm gonna say this. Have you seen any current player advertise any alcohol?
I was thinking about that because there's a certain beer company, free shout outs,
okay,
that has a lot of former athletes on their yes, like Tony Romo, Sue Bird. But I don't know if there is a rule against current players, whether NFL
it may or may
National
not.
League.
Now, I've seen basketball. They have a beer ad with because Jimmy Butler's in one of the beer ads, and then I forgot the lady, the WNBA player that it is. I think she may be.
I think
retired.
Diana Taurasi might be in one.
Yeah, so I don't know how the NFL, NBA operates their collective bargaining, their whole rules. But I'm just sitting here. I'm like, do the NFL have players, like current players, that are promoting, like alcohol? I don't know. I would love to find out.
But if I'm the NFL, I don't really know why I would have a problem with it because it's not like the NFL tells players you can't drink.
Yeah, you're right.
That's on you. 615-737-1025. Let's continue the conversation on the other side because there was another aspect of this that I was shocked to see the NFL not address. We'll get into that coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 1025, 1063 The Game.
The Titans offseason program has come to an end. What other roster tweaks can GM Rand Carthon and head coach Mike Vrabel make before training camp?
Not just taking a guy to fill a need. We want to get the right people. We'll continue to kind of look through where we're at.
Talking Titans? Keep it locked to Nashville's best Titans talk. 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Upgrade our diamond ring this summer with no money down and 0 interest for 5 years. Don't miss this killer offer from Genesis Diamonds. 5 years, 0 interest financing. Not just on engagement rings, earrings, bracelets, bands, colored gemstone jewelry, pre-owned Rolex watches. Buy now, pay nothing down, and spread your payments over 5 years with 0 interest. So that $5,000 gift comes out to just $85 a month. And that luxury pre-owned Rolex Submariner, Datejust, or Explorer starts at only $150 a month. Now through July 1st at Genesis Diamonds. Green Hills and Cool Springs. On approved credit, see store for details.
Buffalo Bills Center of the West in Cody, Wyoming welcomes you as you enter Yellowstone Park's East Entrance. 5 museums in one and the greatest firearms museum anywhere. Welcome to the West. Buffalo Bills Center of the West, Cody, Wyoming.
For more than a century, AM radio has evolved to meet the needs of our community. In their car, at home, or on the job, more than 80 million listeners depend on AM radio each month. AM radio is also the backbone of the emergency alert system, which keeps us safe in dangerous times. It's reliable, free, and public safety depends on it. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress we need AM radio in cars. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Imagine you're looking at a balancing scale with everything you do for other people on one side and everything you do for yourself on the other side. If it isn't balanced, maybe it's time to spend a little more time on you. And therapy is a great place to start. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist online who can help you find that balance and stick to it. Visit BetterHelp.com/score to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp.com/score.
Catch all the NASCAR action this weekend on 1025 The Game, Nashville's racing station, brought to you by Richmar Florists. Catch the action Friday with the NASCAR Truck Series, then Saturday the NASCAR Xfinity Series, and the Ally 400 Cup Series Sunday. Richmar Florists, Pennsylvania built, Tennessee strong.
With the first pick in the NBA draft.
The stars of tomorrow in the association will take center stage tonight with the NBA draft.
I wanted to be in the NBA, but this is unbelievable.
Our coverage begins at 6 o'clock.
On 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey Nashville, this is Penny Hardaway, University of Memphis coach. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 1025 The Game.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3, The Game and the Game Nashville app. Elliot Friedman of Sportsnet, the 32 Thoughts podcast, will join us in 30 minutes. We'll get all of his thoughts and his breakdown on the NHL draft coming up in less than a week. Right now, we're breaking down the league's media conference call on Tuesday addressing gambling. And the NFL clarified the 6 major rules surrounding NFL players and gambling. The biggest being, can't gamble on the NFL, and you cannot do it in NFL buildings. So, practice facilities, stadiums, so on and so forth. But in these 6 rules, and I will read them out, don't bet in the NFL, don't gamble at your team facility, don't have someone bet for you, don't share team inside information, don't enter a sports book during the NFL playing season, and don't play daily fantasy football. There was one that I was really shocked to see was not addressed, and I guess it's maybe the NFL, was not addressed.
Oh, okay.
It may be above the NFL's pay grade, but what does the NFL do about a player that does not bet on an NFL game and does not do it inside a team facility, but does it in a state where sports betting is illegal? Because if you play for the Houston Texans, the Dallas Cowboys, the Atlanta Falcons, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Minnesota Vikings, the LA Rams, the LA Chargers, San Francisco 49ers, and the Jacksonville Jaguars, or the Miami Dolphins, 10 teams, you legally cannot bet in those states. Because sports betting is illegal in all of those states. And if let's say it's in the middle of the season and you're at your home and it's not an NFL game, let's say you were at your house and you want to bet on tennis. Technically, that's illegal. Because it's not legal
if you're on one of these sites or one of these apps on your phone and you're in that state, does it block? Does it automatically block your location?
It does. But you can. There's
probably ways. Well, that's what I was thinking. Is there's probably ways around it. But they probably have that data if they want to find it, right? So it's how hard is the NFL going to look to find it? Because obviously they're not looking that hard. If you had all these unnamed players in this article saying, "Hey, we were betting. Like we had our little thing going." They're admitting that they're having to change their habits, and some of this was news to them. It wasn't emphasized very much, and so you have people that have some habits that are built in.
Because I don't think I'm not going to say that the NFL hasn't paid attention to it, but I think there hasn't been enough things that have happened to force them to pay attention to.
And the horse kind of got out of the barn a little bit.
This forced them to pay attention to it. What has occurred the last 2 years or the last 2 seasons, it has forced the NFL's hand. We need to talk about it more. We need to, be out in front of it. Well, you're not out in front of it. You're behind it because it's already out.
Right.
So now you got to try to bring it all back in and explain to these guys that, listen, I don't think they have any. Well, I think the one new rule here is the events. Now they sort of broadened the circle. They made the circle bigger. No longer can you. I don't think you could bet on the NFL draft, but you can't bet on the combine. You can't bet on Pro Bowls. You can't bet on flag football events or NFL honors. You can't bet on any of that anymore. Which makes sense. I get that. So the NFL has sort of broadened the circle make the circle bigger as far as what we want to be able to try to protect. Again, I'm not going to say it hasn't been a big deal for the NFL because this, above all things else, above all other things, and I hate to say it, when it comes to domestic violence, all of it, nothing trumps betting. Nothing.
Which is
illegal betting. Yeah, nothing in the NFL trumps that because what that does, it compromises the integrity of the game. And once the integrity of the game is compromised, it's hard to get that back. Once people, if something happens and it gets out that there's this guy betting on games, this guy betting on games, this coach giving out information. Now, as a casual fan that loves to bet, I'm not betting on this. I can't because I don't know that what's going on the field is actually, what's supposed to be going on.
Well, that's the number one thing the NFL wants to
avoid. And then Vegas don't want that either because now it messes up their money. So above all things, whatever's in the NFL's rule book and collective bargaining, when it comes to betting, they're not playing. They're not. These agents have told these guys, the NFL have told NFLPA, listen, these betting sites, people, they are telling on y'all. They are giving names out. Stop it.
I think this is what I think the NFL should do. No betting.
Yeah, just across the board. No betting across the board.
You can't bet on tennis. You
During
can't
the
bet
season,
on baseball. You can't bet at home. You can't bet at the facility. You can't bet on any of that because the NFL could say, look, we tried. We tried to give you as long of a leash as possible, and look at what happened here.
But can you imagine the amount of people that will get caught?
But that's on them. I'm not going to change the rules just because I'm afraid of people breaking them.
Okay, but we know that this is an addictive habit for some, right? For hopefully the majority of people, enough people, they can do this in moderation, do it smartly, and not get themselves in trouble. But we know that doesn't always happen, just like with alcohol or anything else. There's some people that can drink responsibly and then people that have a problem. Just like in society, there's going to be football players that have a problem. You can tell them all you want. You can't gamble. Or you can even try to say you can't gamble on football. You can gamble on everything else. Either way, you're going to have a problem. But the problem becomes bigger if you're telling them you can't gamble at all.
I would say
because
that's on the
they're already
league.
in the habit. When they come into the league, they're already in a habit of gambling. And then that gambling, you have more money, you gamble more. It stands to reason. It's not going to happen to everybody, but it's going to happen to some people. And it could happen to a star player that all of a sudden you're like, oh, man.
Well, if I'm the NFL, I would say that is probably, the NFL's responsibility to provide any support that a player might need. It's the same thing with all of other things that are not allowed by the NFL that unfortunately are addictive. Drugs, for example. I would hope that individual teams or the league itself would provide counseling, would provide rehabilitation for those players that might need it. I would just say that all of these gray areas and the hoops that the NFL has to jump through to make sure that what is being bet is under the league's policy, it feels like a whole lot of work. And I know it doesn't feel fair that, all of these individual owners and the league itself are making a bunch of money from sports books, but I think with the NFL, as well as any other job, you give up certain liberties to be able to work in that job, to play in that league. And betting might just be one of those things, one of those liberties that you give up to represent the NFL.
Well, it would be nice if the NFL could do that, to say a clean slate, nobody bets, our 5% stake, we're going to, sell it off. And we're not going to have like a personal stake in a company. We're just going to sell it off because we want to set the example as far as not betting or having close ties, meaning investments in betting sites. So we're going to, do all this and make sure across the board everything is great. That sounds good. And, the NFL could try it. I don't think it would fly. I think the NFLPA would fight that tooth and nail, and I think betting companies, I think Vegas would fight that tooth and nail as well, because you just don't want to, again, as good as it sounds, you just don't want to strip guys of their ability to just, be an everyday person outside of, the football world. I understand during the season, no betting. I understand that. But guys like going to Vegas. Girls like going to Vegas. And when you're in Vegas, you'll walk through the gambling place or casino. I call it a gambling place. Casino. And you want to make a bet. Or you walk into a sports bar and they got all set up.
You walk past Pete Rose.
And you want to make a bet.
Right.
You want to make a bet.
He'll probably be there.
Exactly. I should be able to make a bet if it's not during the season. Now during the season, different story.
Yeah.
But after the season's done, whenever my season is done, I should be able to bet. Now, if my season's done, the playoffs going, I can't bet on that playoff game. I still can't bet on the NFL game. But I can bet on a college game. I can bet on women's tennis. I could bet on men's tennis. I could bet on WNBA. I can do all of that. But I just can't bet on the NFL, whether I'm in the playoffs or not.
It comes down to this. When you're making your rules, is how are you going to enforce it, and how many people do you want to try to catch? And because I'll give you the example from way back. It used to be appalling to some sports fans. Oh my gosh, the NBA doesn't have marijuana on the banned substance list? You mean the players can smoke all the marijuana? This is crazy.
Yeah.
But the league decided, hey, look, a lot of the guys are smoking marijuana.
Yeah, and there are some that are not.
So we're not going to drug test for it. It's just easier to just let it go and say, look, you shouldn't do this, but we're not going to test for it.
Exactly.
And it was just easier because they didn't have to go try to chase everybody down. The NFL, on the other hand, they were drug tested. And they made the rules pretty widespread. Like, just do this and be okay on this date, and then you're all right. But if you get on the list, we got to come after you. We got to poor Travis Henry got tested every 2 weeks, it seemed like, for a while because he got repeat offender status.
The NFL, especially with that, the NFL was telling you, listen, we know y'all smoking.
Right.
And we don't want to catch y'all. So this is what we're going to do.
Don't you think there's a little bit of the gambling with it, right?
We're going to tell y'all when we're testing, what time we're testing, what group we're testing, and we're only going to test once.
Right.
That's it.
So don't be an idiot.
Don't do it.
If you're going to be dumb, at least be smart.
Right. So don't you think there's a little bit of the game? Look, we're going to let you all gamble. You can go to Vegas. You can do everything. Just don't bet on the don't bet on the grounds, and don't bet on the NFL. If you can do those two things, we're good. We're good.
But what if we can't do those two things? Then you lose your privilege. I think the same thing maybe with weed, for example. Like, if you get 20, 25, 30, 35 players that are all, positive for marijuana, even when we tell you, when we're drug testing you, maybe it might change. Maybe it wouldn't. I don't know. But I do think that at some point, if we start to see more players get cracked for gambling, even when the NFL has tried to make it very clear. That's why they invited the media to this conference call. Hey, look, we're doing something about it.
Transparency.
Yeah, look at us. We're changing the rules. Look at us, everybody. Ian Rappaport, tweet it from your account. These are the rules. If they do that and they still can't change things, they might have to change the way that they approach betting. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Let's get your thoughts on that. Elliot Freeman in 15 minutes. 1025-1063 The Game.
This fall,
Andy, 24-21. Your final.
The Game.
All by himself for a one-hand flush.
Gets bigger.
The doors on the board.
Your new home for Vanderbilt Athletics is 102.5 The Game and 94.9 The Fan. Football, men's basketball, baseball, and women's basketball all live here. Your home for Vanderbilt Athletics is 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and 94.9 The Fan.
All right, let's talk F&M Bank, new sponsor on our show, and you may have heard our brand new feature, the Take It to the Bank. On Friday, we're having a lot of fun with that. I hit one. The Florida Gators are in the finals of the College World Series. We'll see if Caroline's LSU Tigers can join them with a win tonight. We'll have more fun with that on tomorrow's show. You've heard me talking also a lot about F&M Bank in general. What is their motto? Banking made easier on purpose. That is what they want to do. And a lot of you have different financial needs. You might be a little younger. You might have just gotten married, or maybe you're thinking about getting married, and you're thinking, look, I got to get my act together when it comes down to my finances. Think about F&M Bank. They want to make it easy for you. That is what they emphasize. Maybe you're at a different stage of life. Maybe you're owning a business, and you're like, hey, I need a small business loan. I got to get my business going. They can help you with that as well. There's a lot of different needs for a lot of different people. F&M Bank makes it easy for all of you. And they're growing big time. They've got 20 locations. Find out the nearest location to you. They're right in the middle of your community. West End Avenue right here in Nashville, for example. Go to myfmbank.com. That's myfmbank.com and find the nearest location. It's F&M Bank. How to make banking easier on purpose. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
Catch Sounds Baseball at First Horizon Park tonight at 6:35 as the Nashville Sounds take on the Baltimore Orioles affiliate, and we celebrate Throwback Thursday. The team will wear our classic 1978 uniforms, and you can enjoy $2 and $4 drink specials all night. Get tickets at NashvilleSounds.com.
Willy Donick here for Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. The official brand perception report is in, and the Pella Windows and Doors brand is #1 for the most trusted, most often recommended by others, and highest quality. Nashville area homeowners are very lucky because Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville is one of the top locations in the country. They provide award-winning excellence when it comes to craftsmanship and installation. If you need new doors or windows, I suggest you choose the experts at Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. Go to PellaofNashville.com.
Men, at the Tennessee Men's Clinic, our urologists and providers have been helping guys with erectile dysfunction and other sexual health issues for years. And unlike some, at the Tennessee Men's Clinic, we take a comprehensive approach to your sexual health. Our sole focus is to treat ED and related conditions. ED can be affected by a bunch of things, from hormones, prostate issues, medical conditions, and even simply aging. The fact is, most guys experience it at some point in life. If you're suffering with ED, it's extremely important to see a provider that understands how your medical conditions, hormone levels, and other factors can impact your ability to have sex. That's why you should come to the Tennessee Men's Clinic, where we have treatments that are effective in nearly 90% of cases. I can't tell you how many guys we've seen that thought their situation was hopeless, only to be wildly surprised. So give us a call today. We'll do some blood work with a T-check and a medical consult to give you the best shot at success. Call 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. We have 2 offices, Midtown and Franklin.
Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatments extra, results vary.
Nashville's radio version of The Odd Couple.
You would trade for the third pick? Yeah, I don't know that I would do that.
Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexrode are Robbie and Rexrode.
I'm here for the discussion. I'm not. It's a good one. It's absurd.
Robbie and Rexrode. Mornings from 6 to 9.
Win the games. When they get in the playoff, they'll have a chance to.
Presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Having some fun in the midday.
Okay, that's really fun.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
It's a good source of energy because it's live.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Catch the Rackley Roofing 200, Tennessee Lottery 250, and the Ally 400 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game on June 23rd through 25th. Coverage presented by Richmar Florist, a top 100 florist company in the country and a proud sponsor of Nashville Super Speedway. We've got some thoughts in our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Bicycle Boy texts in with a fair question. What's the NHL's gambling policy? I don't know the gambling policies of other leagues because I don't know if I've ever heard of a player outside of the NFL getting cracked for gambling.
Yeah, I haven't heard anybody from the NBA. I mean, obviously the whole
or
ref
Major League Baseball
or,
for that matter.
No. Players.
Other than Pete.
Now, of course, baseball has always had the policy. You cannot bet on baseball. Like that is, and I would imagine that if you want to answer the question as simple as possible, you cannot gamble on your sport. I'm fairly certain that is the case for the NHL and Major League Baseball and the NBA. You obviously cannot bet on your sport. I don't know if there are. I don't know about it. I don't know what the Players Association in any of these 3 leagues have. I would imagine though that if you wanted to make a bet on a college football game, if you're an NHL player or a Major League Baseball player, I would imagine you could do that if it's legal in your state.
So,
right?
Willy, this is from April, just to affirm it. Now, this is what I thought originally. NHL prohibits players from gambling on league games. So I'm assuming anything else is fair game. So it's just like the NFL in this argument that we've been already having. So you just can't do all the hockey games.
Now, what we don't know, I don't know if there's any detail on that you're looking at, Nick, about can you – let's say you're just coming in on the day of a game at an NBA arena or an NHL arena or a Major League ballpark, and you come to the park and you get with your buddies and hey, all right, let's bet on our alma maters. It's Michigan State against Michigan. Let's put a little bet down. Or D-Mase, it's Vanderbilt against Michigan State. Let's make. Can you do that on the grounds in those sports
in the Major League
as opposed to the NFL? I don't know the answer.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I have no idea. Which begs the question: why is this? Has seemed to be really only a problem in the NFL.
It's a great question.
Is it the nature of the rule? Is it the way that the NFL has communicated the rule?
It may be because it's the biggest dog on the block.
What do you mean?
The NFL. It's the biggest sport in America. And
there's a lot more money at stake.
There's a lot more money at stake, and they're moving now. They're moving to cities that gambling is legal. So much so that gambling, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, don't they have like a gambling book like right there where the Vegas Stadium is?
Probably.
Oh, tons of them.
Yeah.
So
there's a lot of places now where that is
it's a part
common.
of the
You can
stadium.
go up to the window. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's a bigger deal with the NFL because the money is bigger.
Maybe so.
The sport is bigger. I mean, you wouldn't. Okay, say for instance.
But individual players being, violating the NFL policy.
I think it's because, and we discussed it earlier, players, and I'm not sitting here saying players don't know the rules, because players do. We all know the rules that goes on throughout, the rules of the NFL. They tell us what the rule is. But I think you're starting to see more guys, or have seen more guys, and the potential of seeing more guys. And I guarantee you this. NBA, MLB, NHL is watching the NFL now. And I guarantee you they're making sure, hey, listen, we need to make sure we got our ducks in a row, make sure we are really pounding the table from the inside on this betting thing with players. We, on the next players, PA meeting in whatever sport it is, basketball, baseball, hockey, I guarantee you this will be a point of emphasis because they're watching what the NFL is going through with this whole, betting thing. But, it's become easier for players to bet.
Yes.
And
it's so accessible.
We're the only
easy
sport that we have 6 days, typically 6 days in between the next time we play. So we got a lot of sort of leisure time to make bets and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Hockey, they're all constantly playing. It's just like we don't even have time to bet. Baseball, they ain't got time to bet. Hell, they ain't got time to do much of anything, I don't think. They play too many damn games. Basketball is the same way. Football, to me, and this just could be
Football
sort of...
players not busy enough?
It to me, is not like it's more of a sort of small thing.
Yeah.
But when you have the time to do things, then you're going to do them. And I'm not saying betting is bad, because I don't think it's bad. It's only as bad as you make it.
The only bad thing about it is if you're breaking the NFL rules.
If you're breaking rules, or if you're addicted to betting. Mm-hmm. But if you just like to make bets here and there, you have the time to do that because everything is so accessible, And I think now you're starting to see players, young players, that are not paying attention. Not to say they don't know the rules, but they're not really paying attention to the rules. It's sort of that lax thing. Like, yeah, I know they're there, but, they ain't going to care if I bet while I'm, sitting out in my car in the parking lot on a hockey game or a college basketball game. They don't care. Well, in actuality, the rules state you cannot bet on NFL premises.
Right.
So
that's
but
on
guys, the guys know it, but they're thinking like, man, they don't really mean like in a parking lot, do they? Or do they mean just in the building? Or do they really mean on a plane?
It's the IP address, Derek. That's what all the guys got busted for.
And they're finding out. And they're going to continue to find out who these guys are.
And I put that on the league itself for not clarifying that. And if that is the case, if players are like, well, they don't really mean it, then that's on the players.
Yeah.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. Elliot Friedman, Sportsnet, the 32 Thoughts podcast, will join us coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 1025, 1063 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Hey guys, this is Mike at Newton Ford in Shelbyville. Did you hear the news that we were awarded as a 2023 Dealer of the Year out of all 4 dealerships in Tennessee by Dealer Rater, where real people write real reviews about their car dealership experiences? Yep. That means we got the most 5-star reviews from customers like you over the past year out of all the 4 dealerships you could choose in Tennessee. We're proud of our reputation, but you've got to check it out for yourself. So if you want a smooth purchase of a brand new Ford or pre-owned new to you vehicle, we're here to help make that happen. The best part is, you can start this entire process online with Newton FastPass. That's right, no phone calls or waiting on the lot. Start shopping right now by visiting newtonford.com/Newton-FastPass. That's newtonford.com/Newton-FastPass. Come see us in Shelbyville, just a short drive from Murfreesboro, to see how we can smooth out the car shopping experience for you.
It's happening. Social Furniture's Hot Buy sale is going on now. You'll find your dream furniture on sale now for our best prices of the year. Sofas, sectionals, recliners, bedroom sets, mattresses, dinettes, and more are all on sale. Social Furniture has one of the largest selections of in-stock furniture in Middle Tennessee, ready for delivery today. Buy now and pay later, interest-free. No credit needed. Find Hot Buys in every department. Hurry into Social Furniture today. Social Furniture, 5412 Charlotte Avenue on the west side.
Now, your Game Center update.
This is Nick Keyser. Free agent wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins has still yet to sign with an NFL organization. Yahoo Sports' Charles Robinson joined Robbie and Rexroad this morning and shared his thoughts on the process that the wide receiver's going through.
I mean, I don't think he's delaying it. I think the teams are delaying it. I think that what we talked about the last couple of weeks, has come to fruition, which is the money's a problem. Given where he is at this point.
And the LSU Tigers have been hanging in the College World Series over in Omaha after a 5-2 win last night over Wake Forest. They'll be back in action tonight at 6 p.m. on ESPN2. And according to Adrian Wojnarowski, a deal took place late last night in the NBA. The Celtics, Wizards, and Grizzlies agreed to a 3-team trade that sends Kristaps Porzingis to the Celtics, Marcus Smart to Memphis, and Tyus Jones to the Wizards. You're listening to 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUZ HD2 Laverne.
Robbie and Rexroad. Chase and Michelle.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase.
Stone Company.
Nashville's best sports talk.
Crank it up.
1025 and 1063.
Rebound on the ball.
Make every play perfect.
Touchdown, Middle Tennessee.
We're going to win the game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Covering your teams and the news of the day.
Ladies and gentlemen,
this is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
Who is pleasant to listen to.
With Caroline Fenton, Willy Donick, and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason.
You are hands down my favorite radio personalities of all time.
On 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
With no further ado,
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 1025, 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app. We're live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Game Studios, and we are streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every single day. Our video streaming is brought to you by Superbook. Download their app today and use promo code THEGAME. Elliot Friedman joins us now of Sportsnet and 32 Thoughts podcast. Elliot, we are so excited to have you in our city in just a few short days. Drinks on Me on Broadway.
All right.
Oh, I know where I'm going.
That's recorded. That is on tape.
Because I do feel like I need to, give Elliot a thank you for his homework assignment that I assigned him last week.
Okay.
The RFAs, Elliot. I did give you a homework assignment. What have you found on the Predators RFAs?
Well, first of all, Caroline, I was so respectful of the homework assignment that I didn't even answer the question yesterday. I know if one teacher assigns you homework, you have to answer it in that class, not someone else's class. So,
I appreciate that. I appreciate the exclusivity.
You know what? I don't think there's a lot going on with these files right now. From what I can tell, I think the Predators will focus on the draft first and the decisions that have to be made around then. And then I think that after that's done, we might get some more clarity on Carrier and Glass and exactly what they're thinking there. Glass, I assume, is an arbitration case. Carrier could be too. I wonder if they try to figure out something before that. But I'm just under the impression that as we stand right now, neither of these two cases is in the front burner, and they're focusing on what they have to do next week.
Elliot Friedman is with us, Sportsnet 32 Thoughts podcast. What have you heard of what might go down over the next couple of days ahead of the NHL draft?
It's gonna be busy. I think that there are. I think there's a lot going on. I think there's a lot of talking. I think some of the teams that are kind of at the forefront of it include, Winnipeg, Calgary. I think you guys are there. I mean, you guys have the most picks. It's your draft. You're at home. Teams that are at home sometimes like to put on a show. So I think you guys are kind of in and around there too. I think Montreal, if the four centers go 1, 2, 3, 4 in some order of Bedard, Carlson, Fantilli, Smith, then, really the draft could start at 5 with Montreal in terms of the intrigue there. Matvei Mishkov, the Russian prospect, he comes into town next week. He's a little bit of an unknown. A whole bunch of teams are hoping to meet with him and get a chance to meet him. Like, they don't really know him. They haven't had a chance to meet him. So I think there's a lot going on. And, I say this every year that I think the first night of the draft is a chance to be wild. And sometimes I'm right and sometimes I'm wrong. And I hope this time I'm right.
Now, Elliot, there's still, this thing out there about trading, Saros, which I think is just ridiculous. But that's just me. And I said that jokingly, I would never watch the Predators again if they trade away Saros. I was jokingly saying that. But does
Trotz know this? We need
to tell Trotzy that.
Yeah, we need you, Derek. We got to tell Trotzy this.
That's a threat and a promise, Barry.
Absolutely. Is there a front line or high-powered center or winger out there that would be a sort of a good trade for Saros?
Well, first, the Predators again. I think you should tell them that you'll treat Barry Trotz like a cornerback on a running play, and that might scare him away from making that deal for Saros. I would say this. I think that, as I've said, I don't think that you guys initiated these conversations on Saros. I think there's a lot of goalies out there who are available. I think the position this year that could see the most trades is goaltending, or the most movement is goaltending. And I think other teams are asking, what are you thinking? And I believe this. If you guys trade Saros, we're going to look at the trade and we're going to say, okay, I understand why they did it. Because what you get back, you're probably going to get back a young center or a good young player who's under team control, whether it's contract or not even close to free agency for a long time. So I got to say this. It's hard to get those players. Like, those players don't get traded a lot. So I'm like, with all the goalies are available, I would say it's less likely that I think Saros gets dealt. I'm not really planning on it, but I think it's going to take a big deal for you guys to think about it.
Now, is the goalie, because of what Vegas has been able to do and them winning the cup with their goalie, who isn't a top-notch goalie, but hell, they got a high-powered offense. Is the goalie sort of being devalued a little bit, saying, hey, listen, we just need a competent goalie. If we have enough scoring, it will overcome that.
I think that's a big debate in the sport right now. I'll tell you this, Derek. This is what I believe. It's not your offense, it's your defense. Vegas had a really long defense. Like, you talk about long in basketball, you talk about long in football, you talk about people who are tall and long. Their arms are long, their legs are long. And if you take a look at last year's Stanley Cup final between Colorado and Tampa, the smallest defenseman listed was Cale Makar, who's one of the best defensemen in the NHL, who's 5'11", 187. And I think he's bigger than that. I don't think his NHL.com listing is really right there. But, that's what they list him at. Like, the players told me in that series, every time you tried to score, You were talking about disciplined defensive teams who stick to their system in their own zone. Everywhere you went, you had a leg, an arm, a stick, or a body, and often more than that in your way. They just set up a picket fence or a forest in the zone that's very hard to get through. Vegas's average size of defense this year was, I think, 6'3" and well over 200 pounds. Like, those guys were tough to get through, and their forwards played good defense too. If you have a team that's that big and that disciplined, I think you can get away with not having a super stud goalie. But if you look at the team that they played in the final, Florida's defense, while very good, was not the same way. It's not as big. They had some smaller defenders there, good players, but just not as physically as imposing. And why did they get there? Because their goalie was on a heater, a real heater. So I think the question is, what does your defense look like? You guys know Nashville's defense bigger than mine. Is it Vegas's defense, where everybody's well over 6 feet tall, mobile, and strong? Or is it more like Florida's defense, which is talented, but it's not as physically imposing? If you have Florida's defense, I think you need a better goalie. If you have Vegas's defense, I think, and their commitment to playing defensively, I think you can get away without a super stud. So I think it depends more on what you have in front of the net than what you have in net.
We're talking to Elliot Friedman from 32 Thoughts. He'll be at the draft next week in Nashville. It's less than a week away. It's a good segue, Elliot, to Derek's question when you're trying to define the defense. Because if you look at Nashville's defense, I think it's definitely more towards Florida than Vegas, for sure, especially without Matthias Ekholm. So that brings me to one that I was thinking about. By the way, I love the Cure references on your recent podcast. I'm a big fan. I'm a contemporary.
Nice.
You and I think, seeing eye to eye on a lot of the musical groups. I would love to see the Cure someday. But you guys have been kicking around some different teams, and a lot of teams that have players under contract for one more year that you're not sure if they're going to be able to stay. One of them you brought up is Brett Pesce. I'm intrigued with him. Yeah. They've lost Matthias Ekholm. He would be that kind of guy, at least in my mind, that could be a really good fit. And as you mentioned, the Predators have a lot of assets to go and deal, and Carolina doesn't like to overpay for their players. So what would you think of the fit there?
Oh, I think it's a great idea. Like Willy in a vacuum, I think it's a really good idea. I like it a lot. I think, number one, it just depends on what you guys would be thinking contract-wise. You know, Pesce's looking to hit. Like, Pesce just switched agents too. So my normal way of thinking is when a player switches agents, they do it for a reason. So you know that this is a player who's looking for an improvement on his deal. So I think, it depends on how high you guys are willing to go. Now, Pesce's new agent is the same person, Judd Moldaver, who negotiated for Roman Josi. Now, I don't think Pesce's deal is going to be the same as Roman Josi's, but at least your organization has a history in terms of who they'd be dealing with. And the other thing too is, I like Pesce as a player. If you guys probably have an idea of what he's going to be looking at, which is a bigger number, a big raise, and probably term than what he's at. I think it's a deal you guys could make, yes, with the assets you have, depending on, what kind of draft pick compensation or other players Carolina would be looking for. But in terms of pick compensation, especially for this year, you guys definitely have that flexibility. But I think the biggest question is going to be, are you going to be comfortable with what Pesce is asking for? And, if the answer is yes, and I think you guys are in that race, if the answer is no, you're not.
You mentioned a number of times how tough it is to find a premier number one center. One name that sort of gets thrown out in your podcast from time to time on a team that is mentioned a lot. We know the L.A. Kings they're looking to make a big move, whether it be for a goalie or for you've been saying a lot, Pierre-Luc Dubois. That's one that they've got a radar on right now.
Yep.
Do you think they will have to part with a guy like Quentin Byfield? He's a guy that really intrigues me. He has not blossomed yet, but he's a guy that's got all the tools to be a star. But as you mentioned before, I think when we asked you about this was he didn't have that breakout either in the regular season or in the postseason. How gettable would that be for a team that's looking to deal with the Kings, who are looking to make a big move?
I think it's almost impossible. So at the trade deadline last year, there were some rumors going around with a prospect of theirs by the name of Brandt Clark, who's a defenseman. And the rumors got out, and they specifically they called Clark's agent, and they told him we're not trading him. And they also did the same thing with Byfield. I don't even know if Byfield's agent had reached out to ask them, but they called Byfield's agent at the deadline last year and said, we're not trading him. Like, this is something we're not doing. So I think for the most part that is still the case. So I would not expect Willy Byfield to be traded. LA once traded for Wayne Gretzky, and sometimes these GMs put that in front of you. They say, look, Wayne Gretzky was traded. So I've learned to expect that anything could happen, but I'm not expecting that.
Okay, final thing. Can you maybe set the table for our listeners who are going to follow the draft? They don't know who a lot of these guys are. They certainly know who Connor Bedard is, right? But the guy that is the real X factor, and you guys have talked about it a lot, is this Russian kid, Matvei Mishkov. Tell people why he's going to be so intriguing here.
He's an incredible talent. He's a really, really talented player. If there wasn't so much mystery about him, he'd be the number 2 player taken in the draft. He'd go right after Bedard. There's a couple of things here. Number one, he signed a contract in Russia for 3 more years. And so you're not really sure when you're going to get him. Like, sometimes those contracts can be broken, but sometimes they can't. And so if you're going to take him now, there's the risk you might not see him for 3 years. There's some teams that won't take that risk. Number 2, because of the geopolitics with Russia right now, there were a lot of teams that weren't able to see him this year. They've never really met him. They've never really had a chance to get to know him. Now, the one thing I do want to say is he had a really sad and traumatic incident this year. His father died under mysterious circumstances. And it's I don't even want to trivialize that in any way. It's a horrible thing to go through. Teams wanted to meet with him both before and after, and he wasn't open to it. Even teams that could get there, he really didn't talk a lot. So there's a huge air of mystery about him. Talent, no question. Ability, no question. Personality, they just don't know. And now he's coming into Nashville next week, and there was a real fear he wouldn't meet with teams. I talked about it last week. Now it sounds like he's going to do a few more meetings, so teams are going to get a chance to get to know him a bit. But basically, your only real chance to talk to this player is going to be in a short meeting days before the draft. And as you guys know, these are $1 million decisions. And I think that, there's some teams like Washington, which has a long history of Russian players, people think they'll take him regardless. They don't pick until 8th. All things being equal, this kid would never last the number 8 pick of the draft. But I do think that there's going to be a lot of mystery here about him, and teams trying to understand a bit more about him. And that's one of the biggest questions about the draft is where he goes. Because, like I said, in any quote-unquote normal situation, he'd never last beyond 2.
Elliot, you are the very best. We appreciate your time, and we will see you in the flesh next week.
I look forward to it. Free beers, Carolyn. You know the way to.
Derek and I are we're going to talk. We're going to be there because we might try to get in on this.
All right, don't get crazy. All right.
Only for Elliot, not for us.
Only for Elliot, and of course you too. Elliot, appreciate you. We'll chat next week.
Take care, guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Elliot. We will react to what Elliot had to say coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Every day we are live and local.
It's no longer about Johansson and Duchesne.
Mike Vrabel was his guy. He wanted him to be his coach.
And your source for Nashville sports.
They had missed the playoffs.
It will help them get better players.
We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
The Electronic Express 4th of July sale is here. Celebrate with up to 40% off in every department. Don't miss an LG 75-inch 4K TV for only $699 or an Amana laundry pair for just $399 each. Get huge savings on computers, appliances, 4K TVs, smart home, furniture and mattresses, and more. Get an Asus laptop for only $599 or a Napoleon Freestyle grill for $549. Get up to 3 years free financing throughout the entire store. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Hey, Tennessee! We're Zen Sports, the new sportsbook in town. We listen to your feedback on our competitors, so we designed Zen Sports just the way you wished. Set favorites, search and sort bets, and earn real cash rewards, saving you time and money with every bet you make. Find the bets you want, not those distracting bets that seem too good to be true but rarely are. Best of all, withdraw your winnings in under 24 hours. So take control of your bets, because with Zen Sports, betting just got better. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 and up and in Tennessee to bet.
3 days of racing, 3 days of music, one huge weekend event. The Big Machine Music City Grand Prix is not just a race or a festival, it's an experience. Multiple music stations with Flo Rida, Vince Neil, Chris Jansen, Gavin DeGraw, and more. Fast cars going over 200 miles an hour. And a family fun zone with inflatables, Ferris wheels, kids games, and kid-friendly food trucks. Tickets and premium hospitality are on sale now. Go to MusicCityGP.com for tickets and get ready to experience Nashville's premier speed and sound event.
Because we work so hard for our customers, people are driving for hours to shop at Genesis Diamonds right now, taking advantage of the lowest interest rate on the planet. 0 interest for 5 years with nothing down. How about a $6,000 GIA certified diamond for just $100 a month? Pear shapes, rounds, even oval diamonds are all included. You can even finance the sales tax. All designer jewelry and all lab-grown diamonds included. Don't miss this amazing opportunity. 5 years, 0 interest financing, exclusively at Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs. Approved credit, see store for details.
Hey, Ray Jeter here with Harness. Are you looking to take ownership in a position that will support your growth and development? We are an excavation and site utilities contractor. Several things set us apart from our competition, but we take the most pride in the professional development of our people. We have multiple openings for operators, pipe layers, and laborers. Our pay and benefits are second to none, including our 401k program. Apply today at selectharness.com. Harness LLC. Build people, move dirt.
Tuning into the baseball game, monitoring the incoming storm, catching your favorite talk show. These are just a few of the reasons more than 80 million Americans depend on AM radio each month. And did you know AM radio is the backbone of the emergency alert system, keeping us safe in dangerous times? It's reliable, free, and public safety depends on it. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress we need AM radio in cars. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Anyone want to tell me what happened? Did you miss any of today's show?
It's okay. It's fine. Don't worry.
Subscribe to the Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase podcast on Apple, Spotify, and other podcast platforms, or by going to thegamenashville.com.
All right, I'll give it a shot.
Having some fun in the midday.
Yeah, it's awesome.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Coming up on June 28th at 6 o'clock p.m., it is draft night in Smashville with Robbie Stanley, our very own Willy D, Max Hers, and Chase McCabe live from Bridgestone Arena for the 2023 NHL Draft. The NHL Draft powered by International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers Local 429, Electronic Express, and Oil Fire Whiskey. Elliot Friedman reiterates what we heard from him on Chase and Michelle yesterday and what we asked him last week as well as far as the Saros situation is concerned. And it feels like it's in the same position that it was in maybe months ago at the trade deadline of, sure, I mean, anything's on the table.
I'm telling you.
But
I'm sticking.
Going to take
I'm going down to
big.
4%. I said 5%. I'm going down to 4%. It's not going to happen. They're not trading UC Saros. It's not going to happen. I'm here to tell you.
Well, I'm not
going
hope
100.
it doesn't.
I'm not going 100%, but I'm now up to 96%. He's not going to get traded.
Yeah,
not this offseason. Next year we'll reassess. But
this season, nah,
not happening.
But I mean, the question that I asked, Elliot,
you're about to ask the question that is the question.
That okay, I know we look at Vegas and what they were able to do without a stud goalie. And some teams can get away with it. And Elliott explained it, in a way that you can truly understand it. It sort of brings in it sort of answers the question of, do you need a goalie, or do you need a top line goalie, or can you just get by with just an okay goalie? Well, it depends on what type of team you are. Elliott laid it all out. You look at Vegas and their defense, they're long, athletic, tall, big. So it's a little bit harder getting through their defense, which helps out the goalie. Now you look at Florida. He said, listen, they're in the Stanley Cup because of their goalie, because of their defensemen aren't like Vegas defensemen. They're not the long defenders and the fast and big defenders that Vegas got. We talk about it all the time in basketball. Teams that are long, it make it very difficult for you to really get open three-point shots, or are able to transition their defense from one wing to the next when the ball gets thrown around the top of the key. Those teams are hard to beat. Why? Because they're long and athletic. When you're long and athletic, you may not need that, 7'1" center in the middle, or 7'7" center in the middle to block shots. No, all of us are long, so it's going to be difficult for y'all to shoot the basketball. I see that the same way in hockey. Is if I got a long, physical, athletic team in front of me, the defenseman, well, it makes my job as a goalie a lot easier. Well, when I don't have it, i.e. the Predators or Florida, I better have a damn good goalie, because we don't have the luxury of playing the way Vegas plays.
And so I do think that is a big question for Barry Trotz, is how does he evaluate the defense score? Because it's so easy it's a sexy thing to talk about. Should you trade Saros? Because you think about, well, what could you get?
What could you get back? Yes.
And it's always fun to talk about the goal scorers, right? But the defense core is a very important cog. That's why I asked about Brett Pesce, because when you lose a pillar like Matthias Ekholm, which was a good trade, it was one of those, like Elliott was saying, boy, I see why they did that, because they got so much back. But think about the question you're asking. The Oilers picked up Matthias Ekholm because they desperately needed that kind of defenseman. And ultimately, it still wasn't good enough to protect their weakness, which is a goalie. They're both goalies. They were not good enough to win with that defense. It was all about whether Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl could overcome and outscore. And Vegas, they were better at what they did. Now, maybe if you played that series over again, it would go a different way. We'd be talking about, you don't need the goalie, you don't need the defense. But so when a team wins the way that Vegas won, with 5 different goalies playing at one time during the season, you're like, man, you don't need the goalie. But I think it's a good point that some teams absolutely do need the goalie. And with the Predators' defense core right now, they need the goalie. So that's why I'm curious, with some of these things that Barry Trotz has to work with, it's not getting talked about because you just hired Andrew Brunette. He's an offensive-minded coach. But they could use a little tweaking in the D-core, I think. So what do they have up their sleeve there? I'm curious. Whether it's Pesce or somebody else that we're not thinking of right now. You've got Alex Carrier, who's a restricted free agent. He wouldn't cost you very much to bring back. But remember, he missed a lot of time last year. We all thought Dante Fabro was as good as gone, right? He played well down the stretch after all the injuries, earned another contract for this coming year, but only for 1 year.
And not a massive contract either.
No, he's very affordable, and so that's a tradable asset too. But it's also a guy like, hey, that doesn't kill our budget at all. And he's a first-round pick. You hope maybe with a new coaching staff, maybe he plays even better. Who knows? Like, what does this defense core look like in a new system? You know Roman Yossi's going to be there. You know McDonough's going to be there. Right. You got now Tyson Barrie, who's got 1 year left. There's a lot of flexibility, maneuverability. You've got a young guy like Spencer Stastny. But I am very curious what Barry Trotz and Andrew Brunette see with that defense core, going back to your question. Like, hey, you've got the goalie, right? But so what kind of defense core do we want? What's going to lead to the best way to win?
Willie, so the qualifying offer for Carrier would be right at under $800,000, just so we are clear.
Yeah, and
so
that
it
is cheap.
Very, very cheap. And he's well regarded, too.
Yeah, and he's a guy that when he's in has played very well.
Right, just been hurt, but I think, like you said, it clarified a little bit more once Fabro got that 1-year prove-it deal.
So it's crowded. If you brought everybody in, the Cal Foote is another guy that I don't know. He's not going to blow anybody away with his good, but he's a big guy like Ellie was talking about with Vegas. He does have the length. Now he's got flaws in his game, but he's inexpensive as well. So you have a lot of options. You got Livingstone, who they brought in right out of college. Remember, there's him. So there's a lot of different guys that you could put out there. But what are the right 6 or 7 or 8 that Barry Trotz and Andrew Burnett see? Mm-hmm. And do you want to make an upgrade there somewhere?
So NHL draft less than a week away. NBA draft, on the other hand, will be tonight. And there is a Belmont player who we could see walk across the stage at the NBA draft tonight. Casey
Maybe in the first round.
Maybe in the first round. Pretty good news for Belmont. Casey Alexander, Belmont head men's basketball coach, will join us to discuss him coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
The cup has been raised.
In their 6th National Hockey League season, the Vegas Golden Knights have won the Stanley Cup.
And the offseason can officially begin. What's next for the Nashville Predators?
For the Predators, it's 1-for-1. Get those veterans to buy in.
UC Saros, could the Predators trade him?
We are your home for Smashville. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, let's tell you once again about Loan Pronto. If you've got your financial needs set for the summer and you're looking for some cash, maybe it's some credit card debt that you'd like to get down to zero. Those interest rates keep spiraling on you. Well, think about Loan Pronto and their Equity Express line of credit. It just got even faster. You can now get the cash you need to attack those bills that you're trying to put out the fire on. You can get all the cash you need in less than a week. It's a good move because you're using the value of your home. $100,000, $50,000, whatever it is that you're looking for, you can get it in as little as 5 days. You don't have to touch your primary mortgage either, so keep that good interest rate intact. So call Loan Pronto and execute the plan. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
In football, we all take our hits, but protection keeps you in the game. That's why I always wear my helmet and pads on the field. Life, too, comes with risk. So I got vaccinated for COVID-19. Hi, this is former Tennessee Titans 3-time Pro Bowl defensive end Javon Kearse. Talk to your doctor and get the information you need to make an informed choice. Gear up, Tennessee. Protect yourself and your family against COVID-19.
For more information, go to NFLAGearUp.org/Tennessee.
If you're hiring, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who've used ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
It's happening. Social Furniture's Hot Buy sale is going on now. You'll find your dream furniture on sale now for our best prices of the year. Sofas, sectionals, recliners, bedroom sets, mattresses, dinettes, and more are all on sale. Social Furniture has one of the largest selections of in-stock furniture in Middle Tennessee, ready for delivery today. Buy now and pay later, interest-free. No credit needed. Find Hot Buys in every department. Hurry into Social Furniture today. Social Furniture, 5412 Charlotte Avenue on the west side.
with the first pick in the NBA draft.
The stars of tomorrow in the association will take center stage tonight with the NBA draft.
I wanted to be in the NBA, but this is unbelievable.
Our coverage begins at 6 o'clock.
On 102.5 and 106.3, The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey Nashville, I'm Gary Smith, head coach of Nashville SC. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 The Game.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3, The Game and the Game Nashville app. Stick around because we have a pretty good giveaway at the end of this segment. And joining us now is Belmont head men's basketball coach Casey Alexander. Casey, appreciate you for joining us. The NBA draft is tonight, and one of your guys is expected and projected to go in the first round, and that's Ben Shepherd. Now, Ben Shepherd originally committed to Belmont with Coach Bird, but stuck around with you for all 4 years, even in an era where it is so easy to transfer. So what were your first impressions of him, and what did you see him over the last couple of years that made him and turned him into a potential first-round pick in the NBA draft?
Yeah, well, Ben's been a pleasure to coach from the beginning, and I was really familiar with him when I got to Belmont because I had recruited him really hard when I was the head coach at Lipscomb. So that made that transition easy. Coached him for 4 years. Is exactly what you want from a player in a sense that he got better every year. I mean, literally the epitome of developmental player as far as role and production and everything else. And so really an awesome situation. I love the fact that he stayed all 4 years. He had plenty of opportunities to go elsewhere last year. A lot of people that were trying hard to get him to make a transfer, but he didn't do it. And he stayed with us, had a tremendous season in the Valley, and tonight's going to be a great day for him and for us.
How key was this past season for Ben Shepherd in terms of his game and growing his game, growing physically, expanding his skill set?
Yeah, he really improved in a lot of ways. I mean, it was the first season where he was a little bit of a marked man. He was clearly our best player from beginning to end of the season. And so for him to go, even though as a junior he had a great year, in a lot of ways he was really a role player. We had some highly accomplished seniors on our team that year, and Ben was kind of able to do his thing without being marked as a marked man. But this year he was the guy, and he performed through that. He did it in an incredibly solid Missouri Valley Conference. I think that helped him. I think his efficiency and his consistency throughout the season in a really good league opened the eyes of a lot of scouts out there because he played at such a high level against some pretty good competition.
Now, Coach, what have you been hearing from the NBA teams concerning Ben during the season, through this whole NBA process?
Yeah, well, he started out as a guy that was on the radar. I mean, they knew him, they liked him, they could see some potential there. But I wouldn't think if you asked last August if he was going to be a draft pick, I think most people would say, he could be, but not right now. And then as the season goes on, toward the end of the year, a lot more of the feedback was, I think he might sneak into the draft. And then it's, we think he's going to be drafted for sure. And now it's, we think he's going to be drafted in the first round. And you never know. I mean, how drafts are going to go with trades and needs and everything else. But we've gotten a lot of great feedback from multiple teams that will take him in the end of the first round if it's there. So
we're talking to Belmont's head basketball coach, Casey Alexander. Now, Casey, how does Ben's game translate to the NBA? He's a 6'6" forward. His percentage in three-point shooting and his field goal percentage has went up each and every year just about he's been at Belmont. And I know the NBA is all about, a positionless sort of league where every guy can play just about every position. It seems like he's one of those guys that can do it.
Yeah, and I think where he's really advanced, especially in the last season, was he had the ball in his hands a lot more. He made a lot of plays off the dribble that he hadn't been asked to do previously in his career, but, use of ball screens, making reads, scoring off the dribble, taking threes on the move a lot more. So he really expanded his versatility on the offensive end. But I think there's two things that the NBA likes about Ben primarily. One is he really doesn't have any deficiencies on either end. I'm not saying he's elite at everything, but he's, he can guard his own man. He can play off the ball. He can handle it on offense. He can make shots, So they love that kind of, as you said, in today's world, the more versatile you are, the less holes you have, the more impactful you can be. And that's really what his strengths are, that he can do all of those things on both ends of the floor. And then they just like what kind of guy he is. I think as much as we know about the business of pro sports and ultimately what matters is your ability to get the job done, they're still going to choose the guy that's a great teammate and the guy that's no risk and the guy that works hard and the guy that does his job. They're still going to choose that guy, and that's been Shepherd for sure.
Casey Alexander with us. Casey, for those that are newer to town, Casey played at the Belmont program when it was a powerhouse NAIA program, and it's so interesting for me, Casey, to think back to the evolution where, as great as you guys were, it was rarely discussed that you would have a guy that could go to the NBA. And then even the first few years that you guys transitioned to Division I, you guys were winning games. But it's really interesting, Ian Clark, and now here we are with Ben Shepherd. It's not that crazy of an idea now that a Belmont player could get drafted in the NBA.
Yeah, and Dylan Windler sandwiched in there in between. If Ben's going to be picked. I think we're very confident he's going to be picked, and most likely a first-rounder. And so when you think about 2 first-round picks from Belmont in the last 5 years, there's a lot of basketball teams across the country and plenty in the Power 5 that can't say that. So you're right. We've come a long way, and I think we've accomplished a lot as a program, and this is kind of another feather in our cap. All being still relatively new. People across the country. I mean, we've only been Division I, as you mentioned. Basically been doing this for 20 years, so as we like to say, the best is yet to come.
Casey, Derek was talking about just what you see when you watch an NBA game now. It's incredible how far out the range is, and not just the guards, the shooters per se, but the big guys couldn't go out there like Nikola Jokic, 2 or 3 steps behind the line, still no problem hitting them. How is that affecting how the college game is being played in your mind?
Well, it all is cyclical, as you know. I mean, it was, not too long ago, the whole basketball world was really ball screen dominant, and it was about having that handler out there pounding it and making plays for others. And the Warriors changed it quite a bit, and Spurs a little bit too, just with ball movement, player movement, spreading the floor. And a lot more skill, and so it filters down everywhere. You don't find many guys in recruiting anymore that say, "Coach, hey, I'm a 5-man. Put me down on the block if you don't mind. That's where I love to play." Everybody wants to play out on the floor and be skilled, and I think it's helped us. I think basketball's in a better place than it ever has been as far as the skill level, the IQ, things like that.
You guys won a lot of games in your first year in a new league. That's probably fair to say a deeper league than the one you were in. Are you finding that the way you guys have played, your formula, is going to be successful over the long term in the Missouri Valley?
I think it will be. We're definitely not going to change, but it'll be tougher to come by. Missouri Valley is a really physical, defensive-oriented league. We're a really fast-tempo, offensive-minded team, and those two things don't go. Somebody's going to win, somebody's going to lose in that matchup most of the time, obviously. And so we've got to get better at our deficiencies, but offensively we'll continue to play the same way. And back to your previous question, I think one thing that's interesting about us is Belmont, like our niche over time, has always been a free-flowing, motion-oriented, assist-oriented team, and that's the way basketball is transitioning to. So we haven't changed, but there are a lot more teams out there trying to play the way we've played for a long time. So we lost a little bit of that.
Okay, finally, the Mets are a little shallow in pitching. Can we have Marcus Stroman back, Casey? We're kind of hurting right now.
You got 2 or 3 guys that you could pluck off the Cubs roster, But give us a chance. I mean, we got a good thing going for about 2 weeks now, so don't screw it up for us, okay?
Okay. I mean, we usually talk trash, Mets, Cubs. I got nothing right now. The Mets are terrible. They're terrible.
The Cubs are playing in that highly dominant National League Central Division.
All right,
now.
easy.
I mean, it's unbelievable the caliber of teams. So
I'm still getting used to being bad. Willie's used to it. I'm not used to my baseball team being bad.
Yeah, I mean, it has been highly enjoyable watching the Cardinals struggle a little bit. So that's a good time right now.
Casey, appreciate you for joining us. Enjoy tonight and give our best to Ben.
Will do. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Casey. I promised a giveaway, and a giveaway we shall do. Be caller 3 right now to win a pair of tickets to see Monster Jam World Finals at Nissan Stadium on July 1st. That is caller 3. Our phone number is 615-737-1025. Good luck with that. Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase is brought to you by the new Zen Sportsbook with cash rewards and the easiest, simplest betting experience possible. Betting just got better. Download the Zen Sportsbook app today. 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game has an all-star lineup Monday through Friday. Betting first at 6 a.m., it's Robbie and Rexroad.
Yeah, you take that. You take that. Take 80% of that.
Followed by Chase and Michelle at 9.
Couldn't hit the broadside of a barn.
I need my caffeine so much.
Then it's Caroline, Willy, and D-Mace at 11.
Yep, green light, let's go.
You've got a lot of options.
He say, she say. And bringing it home at 2, Jared Stillman for Stillman and Company.
That guy will be a good coach.
We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Nashville, what's going on? This is D-Mase for Zen Sports, the new sports book in Tennessee that brings cash back to Nashville, or should I say Cashville. Zen Sports is revolutionizing the way you earn sports betting rewards. On Zen Sports, you see what you see is what you get. And with their cashback reward program, you get a lot of cash. Ching ching. For a welcome bonus, earn an unlimited 5% cash back on your betting volume for your first 15 days when you sign up with the code D-Mason. That's D-M-A-S-O-N. That's right. Unlimited 5% cash back. Keep betting and keep earning with up to 3% cash back on your betting volume every month after that. And refer friends to earn a percentage of their betting volume as cash rewards too. Zen Sports is bringing the cash back to Tennessee. So if you bet big on sports, you want to be betting on Zen Sports. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 years of older in Tennessee to bet. Gambling problems? Call 1-800-889-9789. That's Zen
Joe
Sports.
Rexroad here to tell you.
Betting just got better.
Loss because 6 weeks, I'm down 20. I feel great. I'm loving the food items. And by the way, they provide 85% of the food at no extra cost. No pills, no gimmicks, no other suppressants. It feels good and it feels sustainable, and that is obviously a huge thing for people who want to lose weight and keep it off. You know, one thing about PhD, it's a plateau busting program. You know what I'm talking about. You get to that plateau, you kind of stall out, you want to quit. Look, this with accountability, support, education, one-on-one weekly coaching, you're learning what's happening with your nutritionist, getting rid of the visceral fat in your body, and this really helps you keep going. It is simple and easy. Again, like I said, the weekly discussions with your coach. You don't have cravings. You don't have any crap you're putting in your body. And there's a guarantee. If you don't get within 5 pounds of your target weight at the end of the program, PhD will continue to coach you for free until you do. Join me. Check it out. Visit myphdweightloss.com.
Bar Lines in the Omni Nashville Hotel stays true to the spirit of Music City, the perfect spot for sports and arena concert fans year-round. Savor Bar Lines Originals, the Bar Line Barbecue Burger or Midtown Mushroom Swiss Burger. Excite your taste buds with the Sobro Grinder with smoked turkey, the Boss Hog with whiskey braised pork butt, and the Angry Chicken, pickle brine fried chicken breast with honey sriracha. Attending an event downtown? Bar Lines in the Omni Nashville Hotel, open daily at 11 a.m. is a great way to kick off your afternoon or evening.
This year, escape to Land Between the Lakes for an exciting day trip away from home, only an hour and a half northwest of Nashville. They have over 170,000 acres of forest and wetlands on a peninsula in western Kentucky and Tennessee. Hiking, camping, fishing, kayaking, canoeing, outdoor learning, you name it. Land Between the Lakes is where you want to be.
Get up close and personal with wildlife at the Woodlands Nature Station. Take a scenic drive through the elk and bison prairie. Visit the 1850s home place working farm and see what life was like over 170 years ago.
Plan your adventure at landbetweenthelakes.us.
Many jobs, sports, recreational activities, getting older, or having arthritis in your knees increases your chances of having knee problems. Whether you're an active senior or a high school athlete with knee problems or injuries, the world-class doctors at Houston Clinic Orthopedics can treat your knee pain or injuries. Houston Clinic Orthopedics is conveniently located where you work and live. Visit their website at tn.houston.com and book your appointment online. When experience matters, trust Houston Clinic Orthopedics.
Ray Magliozzi here for eBay Motors. So you ordered a new air filter for your car. You try to install it, but it doesn't fit. So you take a little bit off the sides. What, still doesn't fit? Well, you could try to sit on it. Or get it right the first time with eBay Guaranteed Fit. When you see the check, you know that part's gonna fit. Air filters, brakes, headlights, over 122 million parts. Get the right parts at the right prices. eBay Motors, let's ride. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
They talk sports.
Is he going to try and move somebody like Duchesne? Is he going to try and move somebody like Johansson?
I think that Traylon Burks looks very confident out there.
They talk life.
I'm being nice. Chill out.
I threw the empty cup into the garbage can.
But most of all, they have a good time.
Oh, yeah, we're ready.
Chase and Michelle, weekday mornings at 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Tune in for Nashville Sounds Baseball tonight at 5:35 p.m. on 94.9 The Fan. The Sounds take on the Norfolk Tides, AAA affiliate of the Baltimore Orioles in a doubleheader. Sounds Baseball on 94.9 The Fan, presented by 312 Pizza Company, Farm Bureau Health Plans, and Family Leisure. This has been a topic of conversation over the last couple of weeks. The gap between the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Tennessee Titans. Now, Willy and D-Mase, I disagree with a little bit. They think that it's the... I just think that the gap is maybe a little bit slimmer than you guys might think. I look at Trevor Lawrence throwing 4 interceptions in a playoff game. I look at it taking Josh Dobbs in a bad fumble call for Jacksonville to win the division. That's just my side of it. But there's somebody in the text line that is more so on Willy and D-Mase's side. And when you find out who it is, you might want to change your mind.
Oh.
Indy Ben. Texting to the text line. Our phone line is WilsonCountyHonda.com. Says, keep speaking the truth, Derek. Stillman can't take his two-tone glasses off and has a hard time seeing when other rivals are superior to his hometown team. It's why he's trying to top Hopkins to Tennessee into existence. The facts are that until Tennessee gets a top quarterback to compete with the other AFC juggernauts, they'll always be considered a mediocre team that can win in the regular season with good coaching from Vrabel, but come playoff time, they simply cannot measure up with the other offenses in the conference.
Well,
Our good old pal, Indy Ben.
It's another thing that I think Derek and I are seeing eye to eye on, and scarily enough, maybe Indy Ben
that's
as well.
That's when it starts to get a little scary.
We have to keep in perspective DeAndre Hopkins. He will help for sure, but he is not going to all of a sudden change the odds in Vegas a whole lot.
He's not going to right your wrongs.
Not at the start. Like, you're hoping that you hit it big, right? And that's why you don't want to over-invest and offer too much money because of where he is in his career. Even if they get him, Jacksonville is still going to be the favorite in the division. And in the power rankings, when we look where are the Titans, it's probably going to be in the low 20s, even with Hopkins.
Yeah, I don't think Hopkins is going to make them like the favorite, just because if they get Hopkins, I don't think it still makes them the favorite in the South. I think it does boost their odds of making the playoffs somewhat. But I think Jacksonville will be, and I'm not saying this, again, the odds will be tighter, than maybe what I even think, I believe. I think there's still going to be a shot or still some out there that believe the Titans are going to win or have an opportunity to win the division.
I think they have an opportunity to win it even without D-Hop.
Yeah, but it just gets tougher when you don't
100%.
you don't have somebody of his potential caliber. I think the problem is, you're looking at your rival and you know they're coming. There's nothing you can do to stop it. You just hope and pray that they don't finally get it when they're supposed to get it, or finally catch up when they're supposed to catch you. You hope that there may be a hiccup somewhere down the line. They trip and fall during a race, during a 3,200-meter race. They trip and fall, so then they got to work even harder to try to get back up to catch up with you. And I think people are afraid of that. I think not only Titans, I think there are teams around the league that are looking at Jacksonville and saying, man, they are building something really special in Jacksonville. If they can get it all together the way some believe they will, Jacksonville, as long as they have Trevor Lawrence underneath center, as long as Doug Peterson is the coach, this is going to be a good football team. And my thing is, why wouldn't I want the AFC South to be like the old AFC North, when you had Pittsburgh, the Titans, Indianapolis, there was Jackson. There
like
was
when every division game mattered.
There was like this, and it was competition. There was competition in the division. Like it was so every game you knew you were getting a good game. You should want that, because it's only going to make your team get better. What Jacksonville is able to be the team that they are because the Titans were beating up on them. Indianapolis were beating up on them. Houston were beating up on them. And now they've gotten all of this personnel, all this talent, this young talent, and now with the proper guy at the helm, meaning Doug Peterson and Trevor Lawrence, all of that talent, all of those years that we were getting punched in the face and we were getting blown out and Derrick Henry was running 99 yards on us, all of those days sort of built up to what we are now. We suffered all that. Now we're a good team.
And that's what, you're bad for long enough. Ideally, you do get better.
And Jacksonville had their moments in between there with Blake Bortles. But I just think this Jacksonville team right now, they're ascending. And I think right now the Tennessee Titans are sort of not stuck, but they're trying to figure out which way are we going and how do we get there. And
I wouldn't disagree. That Jacksonville looks like they are equipped now more to win than they were in the last 3 to 5 years. I would hope so, at least. But I think that both things can be true. That Jacksonville looks like a better team and that it's still going to be a competition for the division. That's going to do it for us today. We'll be back tomorrow at 11 a.m. Stillman and Company is up next.
Be love and love on your people. Peace.
ElectronicExpress.com